make
here's our situation in Dakota deer camp is I cook the meat, Jared's inside cooking the veggies.
I'm the bitch in camp. I cook the veggies and the rice inside.
I'm outside on the fire cooking the meat. I'm like,
he's like, go inside,
coming,
get me another beer. The men are grilling.
And we're back. HUNTR podcast. Episode, I don't even know.
34? 34 sounds right.
Golden knows. He's like, 4. Yeah.
34?
34? Yeah.
That was pretty good.
So Jared doesn't, first of all, we've got guests in the studio. So we're going to roll right into this thing.
Yep.
We've got Jeremy Critchfield and Jeremiah Voithofer.
What's up, buddy?
Welcome, guys.
Hello.
The Mtn Top and HuntChef crew, local boys to us.
Breaking in all 4 mics.
Yeah.
First time we're doing that.
And a little new ambiance here with the lighting.
Yeah. Shut the lights off.
Yeah, we do. As Jeremiah said, we do our best work in the dark.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He said that.
He's talking about hanging stands in the dark. That's what he meant.
No, it's so Jared doesn't read most of the comments on our podcast. Some of them are good. We've found a real fine line here where you either love us or hate us, and we're okay with that. In fact, I kind of prefer it to be that way. Like I read some of the other podcast reviews, and I'm like, how do people love every single one they do? How they like? Because I was like, no, that one was terrible.
Especially one like Meat Eater. You know, I could get on there. I'm like,
I know we jump those guys' bones a little bit just because they're different than we are, and that's fine. They've got their own, but like everything, they're like, oh, I love everything. I'm like, no, you don't. Like that was boring.
It's just all real intro like level stuff. Besides the cooking, it's obviously way over my head.
Yeah. Which is why we've got Chef here.
Not anymore though.
But,
yeah, we've got reinforcements.
So I was looking, and we just put out one of our new semi-lives when we were out in the Midwest, which we'll get into here with where you guys are hunting too. But the one guy commented, it said something like, "Did that old fella just jump over a gate with a machete, like bare open?" I was like, yeah, he already's missing a finger, so like we're not worried about anything.
I do read them
else.
Every once in a while, and like that machete was about as dull as like a rowboat oar, basically.
I think he was more worried that you're gonna trip and like Jason Voorhees yourself in the chest.
Just
That's
but
funny.
I appreciate the concern for sure.
I know they're looking out for you, man.
Well, they're probably hating on it because there's so many different aspects to what everybody likes in this industry. That's what makes the industry so cool. Is there's such a broad spectrum of people in it, right? I mean, a lot of people do it just for field to fork. A lot of people are hardcore whitetail hunters that give the meat away, right?
Yep.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, everybody kind of does it for a different reason. I mean, and again, we
Jeremiah, you can bring your mic just up just a touch, and it'll be right. Yeah, it's perfect.
We've got up closer.
I'm always
Don't open your mouth real wide.
I've never had a cylinder this close to my mouth, and it's really making me nervous.
Okay, right.
I know you're used to it, Jared. It's okay.
But I think when you kind of look at the spectrum of people out there, and one thing that we've been very clear from the start, and I have one guy, obviously, like we're really close with the hunting public guys, and there was one comment that was like lighting us up that we were basically saying like these guys only kill small deer, and it was like, no, we're not saying that. Like they definitely kill some big deer, but they also have no problem going out and just dropping the first 2-year-old that they see. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
It's just that's not our style of hunting and what we do. And so but it's what I love about kind of even a comment like that is like people are very rooted in these different personalities and how they hunt and what they hunt. And it's because hunting is such an emotional tie, right, to all of us. We all do it for different reasons, but you take a simple comment of like, yeah, these guys will go out and shoot a lot of 2-year-olds, and it's like, whoa, no. Like these guys shoot big bucks too. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. I'm just saying in general, they're okay if they go out and shoot a 2-year-old. That's not what I want to do right now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just,
I think everybody wants everybody to like be on exactly the same page. When the reality is like we just kind of like agree to disagree situationally, like on a lot of stuff we're on the same page, but it's fine that we're not on some things.
well, I mean, there's a lot of things in the hunting space, and I know Jared's very adamant on this topic, but if you think about the number of hunters, right, especially in our state here in Pennsylvania, right, we've got one of the highest density of hunters. Even though it's on the decline, it's still one of the highest density of hunters. And like nobody wants to say, I don't want to see more guys where I'm at, but we're all thinking it, right? The last thing we want to do is walk into our spot and there's a guy, and it's such a sensitive subject because you don't want to be the guy that also says, well, yeah, I don't want any more hunters, because then you're like, whoa, anti-recruitment and retention guy.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
it's a weird position, because I think like the only reason somebody would be in favor of more hunters is because they see that correlated with more money being put into their sport.
There's very few hunters that are thinking about conservation, in my opinion.
Why do you think hunters want more hunters?
I don't think that they do. I just don't.
Me neither.
I think that they just don't want to say.
Well, but when they say it, it's because they want an industry. They want,
Sure.
which is relevant. They want products made for them. They want conservation, whether
Which
they,
affects
they know
all of
it or
us
not.
in this room.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only reason I want more hunters. Well, and I want a limited number of people to share it with. I want friends that hunt and stuff, but I don't want to see people in the woods either necessarily.
I mean, to that point, we've seen that firsthand with the HuntChef seasoning line. I mean, how many people have come out that you wouldn't think were hunters? They'd be like, yeah, my brother's son hunts, gives me deer meat every year. And you've been able to help them, prepare that. And
Yeah, you see that a lot. I mean, whether it's deer meat or gator meat or, God knows down south, I'm sure a bunch of hogs. But, listening to you guys with that little back and forth, it's so interesting in my lifetime. I'll be 49 this year. But, when I was a kid, following my granddad around in the woods deer hunting, because I couldn't carry a gun before I was 12, but I went every damn time he went out. That's just how it was. I loved it. But I can remember him and his buddy Ralph. They were hunting partners, right? And all they ever hunted was public ground. I'm from Armstrong County, PA. And they would be mad as hell if there weren't a bunch of guys in the woods moving deer around.
Yeah.
So you fast forward to nowadays, it's like I got my own 73-acre lease, and I don't want to see another hat or camo shirt or stand or anybody blind on it. I don't even know if I want to look across the property line and see anybody.
I know, man.
Because I want to be there. I want to take my kids there. I want to take friends of mine, industry folks, whatever there. And so it's in that amount of time, it's just kind of flipped.
Yep.
It's gone from meat hunting, which is absolutely all my granddad was in the woods for. You talk about, these guys that don't care if they
Or
shoot
even
the
just
first
strictly like
2-year-old.
tradition. Like we just do it.
No, he was meat hunting.
Okay.
I mean, he grew up through the Depression, and I was so happy that I had that piece of him with me, so early in my life, because it's helped me as a chef so much too, not just as a person, but I mean, he was meat hunting.
Right.
I mean, he would be in a self-made wooden platform, 6 feet off the ground. He'd hold that 32 Marlin down at the back of that spike's head when it walked under it and shoot him right in the head, not waste an ounce of meat, and be happy as all get out. Again, flip that today. You got a $200 or $400 or tree stand or a $3,500 box blind. You got a $5,000 rifle. And you got,
and you're passing every 1-year-old that you see.
You're passing 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it myself in the Midwest. I mean, it's just, not necessarily in Pennsylvania, but
It's a weird
in the West I
evolution
have.
for sure. I mean,
I think hunting for meat is still cherished.
I do.
Yeah, we do it as well. I do, and this reason I made a comment about tradition is I think there's almost, it's somewhere in between. There's a class of guys that, they ate the meat, but they deer hunted because the family deer hunted on the first day of deer season.
Well,
and they didn't.
Those deer hunting camps that were there, that kind of tradition. And there's still plenty of people that meat hunt. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's guys that just fill doe tags until they can't.
I would say just as many. It does seem like that deer camp
That
atmosphere
tradition
has kind of
faded a
fallen
lot.
off.
Yeah, and that's one that still gets me, man. I can't when I was growing up, literally the day we left deer camp, which was usually the first Tuesday of rifle season, I immediately was looking forward to going up right after Thanksgiving dinner the next year. And that was the tradition growing up, and it was 20 years of that same kind of feel of going through and doing that stuff, and then it just. You get busy, you go to college or you have kids, and things just kind of pan off. And in this state, there's still several deer camps that have that tradition, but not nearly like we used to.
No.
I mean, it's
the industry kind of went away from that too. Like all these hunting shows that even those people were watching weren't capturing like a camp atmosphere in the same way. It became
outfitter,
Lee and Tiffany or an outfitter. Just
that was the camp.
Big bucks in Iowa essentially is what got put on the pedestal. And
let's use that as a transition point because, Chef, I know that you and Jay have done some new stuff around kind of an experience, right? Which is, I think, as close to a hybrid of what we're talking here as possible, right? It is an outfitter, but it's a camp experience, right? And I think it's so cool because, man, that is what made me into the hunter that I am today, was that camp experience. Those guys didn't kill the biggest bucks. We sure as shit didn't kill the most bucks on the mountain, but we had fun doing it, and you learned a lot.
Sure.
So maybe tell some of the people, I guess let's start with a little bit of your background first, because we're sitting here saying, hey, chef. A little bit of your background, and then kind of let's use that to tie into the experience that you guys have been doing the last couple of years.
Sure. Like I mentioned earlier, I grew up here in Southwest PA, just north of Pittsburgh, actually, and grew up, hunting, fishing, cooking with my granddad. I used to tell people that really had no idea that, our Thanksgiving table looked like the Pilgrims' Thanksgiving table, right? I mean, it was squirrels and rabbits and grouse and pheasant and deer meat and, everything else. But, after growing up there, I went to culinary school, and I've cooked professionally now for 34 years. 22 years of that was all high-end destination resort hotels, crazy rich, independent owners, and did so much cool shit. I mean, giant concerts, Black Eyed Peas, Tim McGraw, you name it. And, I've opened 29 restaurants in my career. That's not a lot to some people, but, to others, it's
Seems
a few.
like a lot.
29 more than I've opened.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, put legit 5 stars, not just, what people talk about 5 stars, but mobile and now Forbes over the doors of restaurants, over the doors of hotels. And now I'm much more comfortable in my beard and jeans and T-shirt, at the restaurant. I've operated now for almost 10 years, the Stonehouse. And so, like I said, everything I learned with my granddad, you don't waste anything. You take offcuts, whether it's livers, kidneys, hearts, gizzards, and you make great stuff out of them. And that's what a lot of French cooking, traditional classical cuisine is based in. And I've just applied that, throughout my professional career. But then I guess it's been 13 years ago, I started my company HuntChef, and because I wanted to help people better prepare what they harvest. I grew up, we ate great, but we ate the same stuff. We ate deer steaks, fried in electric skillet. We ate roasts that were braised in Campbell's creamy mushroom soup, and we grilled deer steaks that were marinated in wishbone Italian dressing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we made stew.
Yeah.
And it was all great. But there was so much more, and that's really what I wanted to do with HuntChef, was to show people really what you can do. You can barbecue a rack of deer ribs just like you can a rack of pork ribs. You got to approach it a little more gently and pay attention because there's no fat. But and that has been really well received. You look on social media, there's a lot of great wild game cooks out there, and there's a lot of that kind of fast kind of cooking that's very popular now, video style wise or slideshow wise. And it's great, but I just don't. I think the world needs more of that, but it's not necessarily teaching folks. And I think the folks that aren't really comfortable with cooking or even cooking game meat, maybe it's not as approachable as someone that's going to take you through it. Okay, here's how all that just happened.
Yeah, you need a longer form version of it.
Yeah.
I think something more informative, to get people off the ground, and even when there's more meat on the bone, that you're showing folks how to do things. And then how you can take that one preparation, that one process, and take it to different game animals, different species, and how it, my buddy sitting across from me here, Jay, he's done HuntChef Lives with me now every Tuesday for, pushing a year and a half. And he's self-admitted that's helped him a little bit.
Big time.
In his
I'm sure, man.
100%. Yeah.
So, and you mentioned my experience hunts. So I wanted to work with outfitters that I trusted, that I knew, that were buddies, because everybody likes, a trip. Everybody likes, something new and exciting. And, I'm not an outfitter. I'm not, the guy that has a bunch of 200-inch bucks on my wall, but I know guys that do, and I know, where deer like that exist. But I wanted to, like you said, bring people together in that camp format, because I've hunted a lot of outfitters, but you're kind of there as like on your own mission. Like you're an assassin staying under somebody's roof.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
But in the experience piece, you're all there for one reason. 8 to 10 folks, and that reason is for the camaraderie, meet new people, hunt together, and then ideally we knock some deer down, and then we're field dressing, we're butchering, and we're cooking, vacuum packing, grinding, all that kind of stuff, brining hams together, and that camaraderie, that deer camp piece kind of comes more together with the food, because you know, a lot of that traditional deer camp stuff you guys were talking about, it was centered around food. Like, you know, every
100%.
year Uncle Jim makes his chili. Every year,
Yep.
you know, Cousin Eddie, you know, makes lasagna or whatever
it.
the heck it is. You know,
Cousin Eddie.
The other ones bring the cigars and the moonshine. You know,
Yeah, and you're
whiskey.
good. You're set.
But that, you know, that HuntChef experience hunt is what I wanted to kind of introduce people to. It's last year, first camp was really well received, and we'll see how this year goes.
So what was that? You said last year was the first camp. What did that look like?
So it was at Bluegrass Whitetail Outfitters out
Oh,
in
sorry.
West
I remember
Kentucky.
you guys did that. Yeah.
Yeah, great guys out of Bluegrass. You know, great ground. I mean, rolling farm country, some good hills and draws, great deer, lots of deer. And so we had a late season bow hunt in January. We had 8 hunters in camp, and you know that was the thing. Everybody was up early, went out. We had breakfast there. Everybody kind of good luck to each other, pat each other on the back. Everybody went
Were
out.
these guys that you guys brought into camp? Or?
Yep, these are actually all the hunters except one were from Pennsylvania. But we had actually advertised it in kind of a short notice, but we were really happy to have the turnout in the camp that we did. And, you know, so everybody shot a bunch of does, and we had one good buck harvested, and I think 3 others missed or hit. So pretty good, you know, because that time,
Yeah, for late
you know, bucks
season.
could have been dropping anyhow.
Yep.
You can hunt on bait in Kentucky. That
Yeah.
makes it special.
Mhm.
It's a target-rich
It really
environment.
does.
Tons of deer. Deer
Yeah.
numbers are high.
Boom.
And that's what makes it perfect. And the coolest thing that I saw from that, looking at it from the other side of the box, is a hardcore hunter like you guys, like we live to manage, is you saw a brand new hunter who had never really had that experience, had no one to teach him
Yep.
in camp that week.
He was
That's
out
cool.
of Dallas.
In my mind, that is like
That's the home run.
a home run for the hunting, like exactly what you were talking to, tying it back into what you're talking to first. We're getting new sportsmen in the field, and they are enjoying harvesting it and enjoying eating it right there. And that's like, if COVID taught us one thing, hunters are cool again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really good point in that if you put that same guy, even at Bluegrass, during a normal outfitted hunt, I think he'd be turned off.
He barely sees a deer.
Yeah.
He'll never hunt again.
But because of the camp atmosphere and all the extras, which is, hey, we're encouraging to go shoot a doe because we're going to process this thing and then we're going to cook it and we're going to eat well, that entire experience is what probably then hooks him from here on out.
That's the goal, you know, and I'm really excited. One of the camps this year is in Illinois with the Holy Pursuit Outfitters.
Yep.
And we've got dad, mom, and daughter coming. So dad's going just as kind of an observer. So, and, you know, it's one of the other pieces with the experience is the whole thing's filmed.
Mhm.
So, you know, you probably, if you get 10 sits, you're probably going to have at least 3 of those filmed, actually in the stand or in the blind. And so this dad is coming along so that if the wife or the daughter doesn't have a cameraman with them, then he's going to carry one, but he's going to be there with them too.
Cool.
Because he's like, man, those Illinois deer are so big. My ladies are going to be like shooting the first 2-year-old that walks around the corner shaking. So it's so cool. And like his daughter came down and did the HuntChef Live and cooked with me the one time. So it's just so neat to bring people together around food, around hunting, food you harvest yourself. And I don't know, I love it.
Well,
Is
that's
that an
huge,
event?
man.
I'm sorry. Is that an event you guys are going to do this year again?
Yeah, so I have 4 camps this year.
Oh, wow.
We've expanded a little
Dude,
bit.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll be in Illinois first week in October, 1st to the 5th for
That's like your whole
basically
season.
their opener. Yeah, I don't have anything in December.
It is a whole season. It is practically his whole season. you
Cool.
know.
The first week in November, we'll be back in Northwest Missouri at Twisted Oak Hunts.
Cool.
For kind of the start of the rut.
Is that where
bow
you
hunt
killed last
cruising.
year?
Mhm.
Yep.
Are you hunting too?
Probably not. I might sit here and there, but mostly I'm back in camp getting
Prepping.
Yeah.
getting food ready.
It's a full-time
getting
gig.
demonstration.
And is it still
together.
8 to 10 people per?
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
Are all these spots filled?
Not yet.
They will be
good.
now.
How's that work?
You can message me on the HuntChef Facebook page. You can go straight to huntchef.com and pick the one you want and buy it.
And so there's just a limited number of spots. People just need to reach out, and then they're paying for their hunt, I assume?
Yeah. Well,
There's different
they
experiences too.
They're different experiences. So after we wrap up in Missouri, we're back in East Kentucky with Twisted Oak Hunts again for the only rifle hunt that we're doing this year. And it's a veterans-only hunt. Opening day rifle season in Kentucky,
Beautiful.
November 13th to the 16th.
Yep.
And so talking about people buying it, I just put live on the HuntChef page, HuntChef website yesterday that folks from HuntChef Nation and the rest of the world can go on and donate from starting at $25 much you want to sponsor a vet. Bill and I are going to announce a promotion here soon that he and I are going to split the cost of sponsoring one of the veteran hunters, and we're going to put kind of a proposition around that on how that vet gets nominated. So look for some details on that one. And then we'll be back where it all started, January 6th through the 9th in West Kentucky with Bluegrass Whitetail Outfitters. I think that's such an awesome hunt. Like Jay said, you can hunt over bait. Great way to extend your season into January.
Love that.
You know, I like hunting Ohio late, January with the bow out there. But
just thinking out loud here, you guys should give your sponsors some opportunities to sponsor a hunter for your camp.
Yeah, I think that exists. I think we're going to try that with this veterans hunt the first time and see how that goes. I've talked to a couple companies. I've actually had 2 hunters already sponsored by charity organizations. There's some guys up in Armstrong County, PA, where I'm from, Saving Dreams Outdoors. They just sponsored a vet hunter for that one. So it's a new thing. That camp, that piece of experience, Bill and I were just talking back and forth. We wanted to do something for veterans, but we're not independently rich and couldn't just bring eight veterans on our own. So, and there's plenty of vets out there that, that buying that hunt for themselves is.
What is the cost for a hunter on those things, on your experiences?
So all the archery hunts are $3,600 a hunter. And, it's pretty much 5 to 6 nights accommodations, all your meals, and then talking about sponsors, and I'd be happy to talk to some of your partners. But my goal is that every hunter on the experience hunt you get your own brand new duffel bag, and it's full of somewhere around $750 retail value in hunting product, that you would get along with that too.
Cool.
So they don't include tags, they don't include travel, but
these are all over the counter states then?
Yeah, all over the counter tags, which is another great piece. I think we're going to look to do some hogs down south. I think we're going to look to do a fin and feather one this spring with turkey and probably king salmon up in Michigan, something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, I want them to be different, and some of them are going to be lower pressure. Like people are going to be sitting at rut stand in Illinois and wanting to sit it all day.
Yep.
But if we're going to do pigs in Texas, we got all afternoon and early
whenever
the
you wanna
barbecue
go.
and hang out.
How do you get the meat, back and have as much fun and free time as possible?
Yeah.
And I think the cooking aspect is so cool, and one that I kind of missed out on, I think, growing up, because it was just like we put so much work and effort into planning the hunt, preparing for the hunt.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it was like I barely knew how to process the thing.
Sure.
Let alone like what to do with it once it made it into my freezer. Even now, dude, I'm guilty of venison sitting in my freezer for 2 years, and I'm like, well, eventually I got to do something with it or give it away or something.
If your buddy's HuntChef, that does not happen. You know how much venison we eat up on those lives?
Oh man.
Wow.
Well, so are you guys, I remember early on you were doing some of the, like around a campfire type of a setting. Are you still doing any of those, or are they all in your kitchen now?
So all the live shows, the Facebook live shows every Tuesday, I built a film set kitchen in the back of my house, and that's where we do those. We're probably still going to make it outdoors for a couple of those before the snow flies.
It's like a full studio. Like at this point, it's so set up very much like what we're sitting in now. I mean, it is blown out.
Yep.
And it's unbelievable. You guys have been watching this since day one. I mean, it has come a long way.
Yeah.
And it has made the audio so much better. It's made the presentation
just your
so much
control.
better.
Yeah, I was going to say presentation, what you can do from a cooking aspect with all the functionalities and stuff that you have there. Just
I do
it's
like,
hard to beat.
I do like the that experience of like what you're doing with your camps is where you're getting people out to hunt potentially for the first time and getting to eat something that they either witnessed being harvested or that they killed themselves. Is one of the most like primal, like there's just something right about that, to sit around a fire with people in camp that you enjoy and to do that. And while I love the HuntChef lives that you do now, those are really educational. I can learn a lot from those. I think that some of those in camp, like what can I do right with the stuff I've pulled off the animal this week, is really hits home for some of those first time people.
Yeah, and the live shows are so great because we can sit there and watch the comments, and people ask questions a lot.
Interaction.
It's really cool.
Common
It's
interaction.
great. It's real time, and they're real questions. I mean, what can I do with give me something new to do with the neck roast. As basic as that. Or if we're doing fish, I've never fried a whole one before. I said, well, and just small things that I spent, half a lifetime learning.
Yep.
I'd share it for free. I mean, that's what I do. That's what I love.
I think when you look at the experience side and even your prep, the things that I think a lot of people, because I mean, I'll fill that freezer, and like right now, I'm pretty much empty. Like I don't have very much left, if anything.
I'm getting there too.
And I'm ready to stock back up. I think the thing that I look at, and this is a learning process for me, is number one, processing and prep, like actually cleaning and taking care of the meat. Because what happens is a lot of people right out of the gate will say, like I just don't like the taste. You're doing something wrong.
That's right.
It's not that like they're like, it's too gamey, or something wasn't done correctly to get to that point. And that's not belittling them by any means. It's just there's a care process from the moment you harvest that animal that is going to affect what it's going to taste like when it's on your plate.
Yeah, for sure. But deer, fish, squirrels, turkeys, they're
beaver. Beaver's my favorite.
I knew it was coming out. It was either going to be beaver or snapper. I wasn't sure which one.
Have you eaten beaver?
Yeah.
We've had beaver on live.
Did you eat the tail?
3 times.
Live 3 times.
On TV once.
Then the beaver gumbo on the Mtn Top Sportsman show. Yeah.
Did you eat the tail?
We have not cooked the tail. I have 3 in the freezer.
Have you ever had it?
I have not.
I have.
But I've been doing
Beaver
a lot
tail?
of research on the beaver tail.
It's a delicacy in Alaska.
Yeah.
Really?
That's why I have 3 in the freezer. I'm hoarding them.
Yeah, they're not. It's not good.
It sounds horrible.
Like
to be
most
honest.
delicacies, worldwide, it's not.
Well, it is interesting. Again, because I know you've done beaver, you've done coyote.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done bobcat too?
Yep.
And like I've eaten
human.
Possibly you. I've done bobcat backstrap. I thought it was good.
Have you? Where'd you do that?
Is excellent.
Huh?
Where'd you do that?
South Carolina with Joe Hamilton from QDMA back in the day.
You guys killed one, and
I'm pretty sure he picked it up as a roadkill.
Wow.
Nice.
And skinned it out, and we ate the backstrap, and it was really good. Emily and I were with him together, and he's like, "Yeah, this is bobcat backstrap."
Super mild meat.
It is
Very clean, lean, tender.
very clean. Yeah, and I mean, to most people, they're like, and it's just, again, I think that's that mentality, and I think people have that even with deer. Like some people have that with deer who are avid hunters. I know plenty of them who are just like, I don't eat deer meat. And I'm like, why?
I see it every year, 100%. There's a lot of guys that come into these camps or spots that I'm hunting with collagerment leases that guys are, and they'll be like, "Hey, you want that deer?" I mean, I remember walking up on this old boy's first boner, and I'm like, "What a beautiful deer." He's like, "You want the meat?"
Why?
And I was like,
Do you think that's just because they don't know how to prepare it, chef? Or
I
is
think
it
there's a
personal?
lot of different scenarios. A lot of people just aren't comfortable cooking. They're just not. It's not in their DNA.
That's a good
it's
point.
not in their
That's
mindset.
a really good point.
And or what I hear a lot is, say in the family the dad hunts, but the missus and the kids just don't want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else in my house eats deer meat. I can't eat a whole deer in a year.
Sure.
So I give it away.
I hear that a lot.
Yep.
And that's okay because there's a lot of great organizations that give that meat away to.
100%.
And so you're not just out there being a sniper, but you're, following your tradition, your love of hunting. And if you're not going to eat it, then give it away. And I don't see any problem with that at all. I mean, it's just like donating canned stuff to a food bank. But it's a lot better for you because it's not in a can. It's the best natural protein on planet Earth.
100%.
But to your point about people saying they don't like it, but, when you remember when you were a kid and whether it was a health teacher or a parent or something, and people would tell you are what you eat, remember. Yeah. So, the animals are what they eat too. So I've never eaten a muley that was really heavily browsed on sage.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard folks don't care for that flavor just because of
I've heard that
their diet.
Yeah.
I've killed deer on the mountain that they didn't taste great, and they were late season deer, and I think they were just eating a lot of laurel.
Yeah.
And the just the browse, and it wasn't what it my typical venison from the mountain eating experience was. But all you got to do is approach it differently, prepare it differently. So, but people might take that first bite and be like, "Oh, this thing's terrible," and then it goes.
Well, another point to our mountain deer that don't taste great late. Our mountain deer get run hard because of bear hunters and out-of-state bear pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the deer I shot last year. I knew that deer was 5, and he had nothing left on him.
Just worn out.
Like he was
the hunting pressure, the rut pressure.
Unbelievably.
Still limitation of food. I mean, he's browsing. There's no ag.
Yep.
You know,
0.
So I do think that's an interesting point. The muleys that we killed in North Dakota last year were on sage, but they also had big alfalfa bottoms.
Oh.
Frankly, I thought that tastes better than the whitetails I
killed.
killed.
Primarily alfalfa they were eating.
Yeah.
Just every night. I mean, we killed them 200 yards off of the alfalfa field.
Right.
And I
Every
mean,
night
I thought they tasted better than most of the whitetail that I've killed in the past.
That's awesome.
And so Jeremy and I had one of those experiences. Obviously, we've had them before, but like we took the back straps off those bucks and grilled them right there in camp and ate them that night. And
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was great. But that's why I asked that. I think part of it, because I think everybody who eats venison or any wild game probably has their go-to recipes.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, I not to interrupt you. I think that's for me. Laziness is not the right word. It's just I'm not real comfortable with a bunch of different recipes. Here's your deer sticks.
Speaking of meat,
Professional snacker.
Yeah, professional stack. And so like for me, it's like I've got this meat in my freezer, and it's like I know up to the point that it's not freeze dried, but what do we do? Vacuum seal it. And we put them in the freezer. They're labeled. It's good to go.
Sure.
For me, it's like, well, do I plan on cooking this a day ahead of time, and do I take it out like transparently? I'm not totally sure what the best thawing process is. They just put it in the fridge, I assume, and then
you got an expert right here.
from there.
Ask him.
And so for me, it's kind of like, well, you know, I feel guilty almost saying this. It's like, well, I've got this like chicken or salmon that I bought from Aldi or whatever, and it's already thawed, and it's like I already know what to do with it. I'm just gonna pour teriyaki over it.
Sure.
And I'm just more comfortable with
Yep.
how to prepare those things. Even though I've got this meat that if I was more comfortable or familiar with some of those processes, how to thaw it, how to season it, I would be.
And that's you're my guy. You know,
And
you're
dude,
one of one of my guys. You're
my
one of
wife-
the people I'm trying to talk to.
My wife bought me a Traeger for my birthday this past year, so finally, I'm like, even with those meats, I'm feeling
Really nice wife.
Yeah, she's great. So I'm feeling like excited a little bit about
Yeah.
like I can cook these things and they taste better than they did on my old, Weber, whatever old grill that I got from my parents or whatever. So this would be the year I think for me to spend some more time like understanding.
I think
how
you have
do
to
that.
like to experiment. That's what I like about cooking. Like
I
not
don't.
everything
I
that-
don't like to experiment. I just would rather know what to do
That's why I think
and
that's
get it done.
your
Because I eat so much food, I need to be efficient with how I make
here's
it.
our situation in Dakota deer camp is I cook the meat, Jared's inside cooking the veggies.
I'm the bitch in camp. I cook the veggies and the rice inside.
I'm outside on the fire cooking the meat. I'm like,
He's like,
how
go
those veggies
inside,
coming,
get me
huh?"
another beer. The men are grilling.
That's great.
But I've
really
always
is.
and
yes, sir.
part of that is, I guess, just how I was raised. Like we always would cook different things with deer meat. And again, going back to what I was saying there, like I have my go-tos. I could have just a grilled piece of backstrap over wild rice every night of the week. I could just eat it every night. It's just my go-to. I love it. It's clean. I feel good about it. But like we do stews, we do chilies, we do spaghetti, like.
And you get your kids involved a lot too. Like I mean, if you look at the HuntChef scene, there is nothing more rewarding than seeing the kids come on there. Chef Son Warren's on there a lot, and passing on that tradition, right? And that's a lot of people don't get kids involved.
Well, that's why I say
at
about
all.
like, what do you make that's good? So let's talk about kids for a second there, because that's important. Like, there's a lot of things that we make. Frankly, when I cook, I kind of make what I want, and hopefully they eat it. But like
Dino deer nuggets.
Yeah,
Deer
that's the
dino
thing
nuggets.
is like, what do you make? So like they'll eat, if I do a grilled piece of backstrap and wild rice or something, they'll eat that all day long. They've got no
Nice.
problem with that. Chili on occasion, depending on how spicy it is. Spaghetti, no problem. Some of the beef stews or venison stews that we do, no problem. But like, if you think about kids, like their palates aren't developed. They're very, in most cases, a lot of these kids are picky eaters. I want them to be excited about, especially because both of them harvest their first deer last year.
Yep.
They're ready to do it again.
Nice work.
I want them to want to eat what they kill. And so far it's working, but I also have a limited menu for what
Sure.
we talked about.
Well, I work so damn much. It's hard. So a lot of times that Tuesday Night Live is really, oftentimes, about my only way, to get my kids. But they've Warren and Chloe both have harvested deer and turkey, and they've helped me with the field dressing, everything the whole way through, and then we've cooked it there.
Yep.
Warren's been a trooper. I mean, he's eaten beaver gumbo, he's eaten turtle, he's eaten black bear, he's eaten coyote, he's eaten deer meat, groundhog, pheasant, walleye, bass. I mean, he's really run the gamut. I've been really lucky because a lot of folks, they'll give me meats that I don't have the access to or the time to go get. And so now, and that's one of the other things, I come out with a seasoning line to help people have choices. You might like salt and pepper, but there's a few more steps to go, and you might want it to be easy. So
Dude,
I
I'm
try
working
and take
with
the guesswork out for you.
Such limited ingredients.
So what Warren loves to do now on these lives, he'll take a piece of whatever meat that we're cooking that night, and he'll pick a seasoning, and he'll go season it, and he'll be real secretive about it, and he'll run out and he'll pop the damn thing in a microwave, right? And then he'll bring it in and give pieces to people and say, okay, guess the seasoning. And it's just the coolest thing, for him at 9 years old to be like happy and proud of cooking something.
Yeah,
and,
that's awesome.
And plus he has that, he's such a damn jokester. The kid's awesome, never has a bad day. But he makes it kind of a game for you to guess that flavor, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah, he's having fun with it. He's and we get too tied up in what we're doing a lot on the set, and there are many times
he brings us back to reality.
I was just going to say, we look at each other and smile and go, oh, yeah.
He's like, I dunked this one in the toilet.
I do.
How's that taste?
Don't
Dad?
give him any ideas.
You make a good point, Jared, because again, if prior to, so I've got pretty much every seasoning that HuntChef has. I've got my favorite. Low Country is my favorite by far. It's just my palate type of thing. But if you think about kind of growing up, it was like salt, pepper, garlic salt, garlic powder, maybe onion powder.
Dude, you're
a handful.
You're even brimming on my. I'm like salt, pepper,
garlic, salt, powder.
cayenne, garlic.
That's it.
And then green Tabasco sauce afterwards.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's where I'm at.
Which is where, and
I
that's
will
where,
marinate. I'll marinate in like Italian dressing.
Yeah.
Or like a red wine.
Very-
I'll throw all kind of like mustard and garlic and stuff.
Very
in there.
daring.
Just basically like I'll watch my mom from a distance. I'm like, I'll try some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times do you try that, and then you're like, I'm not eating that ever again?
He'll eat it.
It's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
He'll
got to
eat
try
it.
that. Yeah.
But I think that's where it's kind of like, us as hunters, like I want to make something that tastes good, and
Yeah,
I'm trying to play
Right.
with, what we have. But like at some point, like what I like is probably maybe not what your palate
Sure.
is used to or what you like. Like I like salt. My wife doesn't. So when she makes something, I'm like, salt, instant.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't keep doing that. And I'm like, it's not salty enough.
Yeah.
And it's just the difference between her and I,
Everybody has their own taste, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
To your comment about experimenting and like, so Chef and I are probably polar opposites in this regard. Is like I enjoy the difficulty of like the hunt. I love that it's hard. I'll spend years, not feeling attacked. I
Sure.
love that part of it.
Yep.
When it comes to cooking, like I want that part to be easy,
Yeah.
and it's not. Like, or it can be. I guess if I knew it.
Well, it's just like, you think back to the start of your hunting career, I'm sure you find it more enjoyable and easier now getting that right set in than, I don't know,
Well.
6, 8, 10 years ago.
Sometimes it seems like I'm going backwards, but but yeah, I see what you're saying.
But yeah, I mean, just the more time spent, the more comfortable you get, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
The more you learn.
Yeah. I think that's a good
I mean,
point.
I have noticed that now even, and so
What does Margie doesn't eat any deer meat, does she?
no, she doesn't really cook either because she works
Right.
so hard.
And I think that's probably where you guys as a family unit, are one of those groups that it's like, you'll eat it, but it's just not a
I'd
priority.
love to eat it. I'm really passionate about eating it.
Well, even
But it's the preparation and the
but even the prep, like when we were in North Dakota prepping those, like we were very meticulous about getting that meat and bagging that meat and making sure it was clean through the process.
Yeah. And I'm good at that part, man. I can.
I know.
Chef would love me.
Yeah.
If I
Meticulous.
Meticulous.
Yeah, it's clean. There's no hair on it.
But
like
then
it. Yeah.
it's that now it's in the freezer.
Yep.
Now
and
you
there
get-
and that's where it stays.
and that's where it stays.
Yeah.
Where mine barely touches the freezer and I'm already like, I'm out.
right.
I'm texting my son out there right now, just checking in on him.
No worries.
He's fine. There's no fires. The alarm will go off.
Dude, I'm so
Right.
close on it too, man. Like I don't want to make this about my cooking habits, but if I have the
kinda
meat,
are.
I have the meat in the freezer. If I was comfortable with the process of here's how I thought, here's how it's seasoned, and then cook it, and that tastes better and is then,
maybe Jared should be on a HuntChef Live.
That's pretty apparent.
Yeah.
Just like he's not a hard guy to please, right? Like
Yeah.
he likes multiple different types of food.
I think you should bring your wife so that she can try some culinary grade wild game, and it is totally different. We've
Yeah,
had
but she's
so
never
m-
gonna cook it.
That's okay, but she might
She'll eat
entertain
it.
him cooking
She'll
it a
eat
different
anything
way,
I cook it.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you cook it a different way at home and HuntChef shows you on live or wherever
Oh,
on
she'll eat
YouTube
it.
how to do
Yeah,
it.
she'll eat it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the coolest thing is getting somebody that, like, my wife's family doesn't eat wild game at all.
Mm-hmm.
And now they all ask me
Yeah.
for wild game every time they're around. Chef and I joke about it all the
Do you
time.
think that's because of not just who you are and how you guys have kind of formed this, but also the national movement of sustainability and healthier eating?
100%. COVID helped. That's what I was talking about.
Mhm.
You know, you hate to talk about it, but at the same time, it 100%. As hunters, we saw more hunters in the field. We saw more applications this year on Western draws. You and I texted about it. Illinois, Iowa, Kansas. You see more applications, more and more. And I can't tell you how many people have told me in the last 6 to 8 months, I'm a new hunter.
Yeah.
And I love it. And back to our start of the conversation, you don't want to hear it in your neck in the woods. I'm spoiled.
There's
I hunt
still
private
plenty of
ground,
room.
so
I mean, listen,
whatever.
go back to when, the chef was hunting when I was younger. Like, there was 1 million plus Orange Army
Right.
in the
Oh, yeah.
Pennsylvania deer woods.
Right.
It's not, there's still a lot of guys out there, but we're nowhere close to those numbers. There's a lot of space. It's
Yep.
just our mentality has changed. And now we're at that kind of tilting point where back in the 90s, I wanted guys in the woods, so when they moved around, the deer moved.
Yep.
Now there's just enough guys that if I see them, I'm like, man, you're just going to screw up the natural movement.
Yeah.
But guys don't have the you guys hit the nail on the head. Like I saw it last year and I have vouched to make it happen now 2 years in a row. My dad stopped hunting for 2 years and that like broke my heart, right? Because I grew up going with my dad and I blame a lot of it on myself because I became such a nut about killing bigger deer that I forgot about the tradition and getting involved. So last year we did a deer camp at my house, and as soon as I mentioned it to my cousin from Helltown, he was like, "Man, I love deer camp. I'll be there." I thought he was joking.
Yeah.
Ask Chef, he showed up for 5 days.
Yeah.
And he can't wait until this year.
That's awesome.
So now, like, I got my neighbor, involved now, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll use all the ground, and we're going to do this deer camp. Guys will have assigned stands, and it'll be a lot of fun." And like, my dad can't wait for deer camp.
Well, and that's what it
That's
used to be
awesome.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we all used to feel at one point in time, and it has changed. Obviously, the property I hunt in the mountain, they still do their deer camp for 2 weeks of rifle every year.
We just got the email.
Just got the email.
So we were both on the email.
Yep.
Yeah.
And but like that's something that we've tried to pull back in now. We've done it in Kansas the past few years where it's Jared and my dad and I. This year we'll be in Illinois. We got an Airbnb for a week in Illinois and we've got a couple small leases and a bunch of public, and we're just gonna have a deer camp.
Yeah, we're trying to find a way to like have our cake and eat it too, because unfortunately, like if you hunt a small tract of ground at home, you can't just have everybody and their brother out and then also expect to kill a giant old buck every year, because
Or you're in the hunting industry and you hunt on the road by yourself, and
Yeah, that's
them up.
tough.
Well, so
See you later.
what Jeremy and I have done is because I was experiencing some of that on my farm, is like some of these guys want to have deer camp and I want to kill a giant buck.
sure.
But I don't, like you're saying, I don't want to drive my dad or the guys that I hunt with to a point where they don't want to hunt with me.
That's right.
So we've branched out and just tried to find more resources.
Yeah, more
essentially.
opportunity.
Because, Jeremy and I have tried to spotlight the fact that it's the fact that we have a limited deer herd, a limited resource that we're all trying to, hunting.
And you don't want to spoil a year's worth of work.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So
Oh, exactly.
That's what I did. I'm lucky enough that my neighbor lets me manage his ground as well. So what we're doing is playing the edge, and you get to have your cake and eat it too in that way, because you're still keeping some management. But if one of those bucks walks out and these guys mows them down, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. We just went out and found more property. A
Yeah,
lot of it is
that's what I'm
public.
saying.
Some of
Yep.
it is leases out of state, and so we have certain properties designated for. And see, this is where I can start to see more of, like Aaron and the Hunting Publics guys, is like they have so much ground. It doesn't really matter what they do on any of them, because it's like, well, I'll just go over here and try to achieve that goal here, because it's possible there. So
And that's the difference in the Midwest.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, how many times, and we'll see this year, but how many times on the road this year did we see somebody when we were on public ground was probably 50% less than it was the year before? And I don't know if that's
Really?
because of people with COVID were locked down, but I'll be interested to see this year.
Huh.
I don't think you'll get. This isn't just to be negative. You're not going to get near the participation that you had in 20 from a hunting side.
Yep.
I mean, life is going on.
Yep.
And there likely will still be an increase. We saw an increase of tags and or applications for tags in Kansas, which is the biggest in the history
Iowa
of
too.
non-resident.
Iowa had the same.
But you won't see that participation in 21 be as strong. It'll still be better. but it just won't be as strong. And at some point, we'll find wherever this happy medium is going to be for the next 3-year average or something. But I think you end up looking at kind of the Midwest. And again, you know, even if you talk about Missouri or Illinois or Wisconsin, like all of these states are extremely high dense in terms of hunters, just like it is here in Pennsylvania. It's just a different mindset when you start to look at the amount of ground and deer habitat that these places have versus what we have out here.
Yeah, but the other side of that seesaw, 100%. I know you and I text all the time, obviously, but turkey season.
Mm-hmm.
So to go on a whitetail hunt today, it's substantial for a lot of people to find a lease or find a tract of ground and go whitetail hunt. In turkey season, I did a turkey tour for the 2nd year in a row, and in West by God, Virginia, public ground. You'd have thought there was a 200-inch deer around every corner. There were so many trucks, parking spot after parking spot after parking spot. And in my mind, it boils down to a 410 today is $200. A box of shells, $30. Out-of-state license for you and your buddy is $100, and you can kill like 3 birds.
Yep.
And in 3 states, I saw that. And I talked to game wardens in 2 out of 3, and they said we're seeing our most push from out-of-state hunters in turkey season. And they both brought up the fact to look how much it is to whitetail hunt out of state today compared to turkey hunt. It's
outrageous.
It's a third or less.
You don't think that? I doubt that would be the case though. Like in Iowa,
I agree 100%. Yeah,
but it's a limited
but we have
draw.
We have the number of hunters.
It's capped.
That's true. Also,
you know, versus turkey season's not capped anywhere,
and it's zoned. Mm-hmm. It's zoned in Iowa and Illinois. Illinois, you have 3 days to use that turkey tag.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Good luck, because, I mean, I'm a half-decent turkey hunter. It took me 3 days, and I watched the bird every day because he was going on a tracker ground I couldn't hunt. So literally, I sat underneath him.
Yeah,
I think that's an important point when you start to look at like how this participation, because we had this conversation when we were in Illinois. We've got small ground, 2 80-acre leases, but there's tons of public ground, both of them, which is why we got the leases.
Tons, like 300,000
and
acres.
Like, you know, I sent you a picture the other day. We've got a giant 8 on public, and it's like a 300-acre block of then thousands of ag acres around it that eventually will be cut down. It's like, you know, are there going to be 7 guys piled in here? Will anybody be piled in here? Is it just us? Like, we don't know.
To be determined.
For the first time, I've been hunting Illinois for 12 years, and Chef knows I could throw up in a bucket thinking about it. But the first time in 12 years, I did not draw my gun tag.
Really?
For the county, because
I thought that was almost an auto.
I texted him that. I mean, so that's the increase, and I don't know why Illinois takes such a beating. I think it's because it's
accessible.
It had its heyday. It's accessible. It's getting good again with the hunter numbers being down.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still people year in, year out that kill absolute slammers for the first time in their life in the state of Illinois because it's accessible.
Man, that's crazy.
And Ohio takes an absolute beating because it's close to the hunter numbers in my mind.
We talked about this with, I guess it was probably Ben Rising. You know, you think about Kansas, think about Iowa, right? That is the control whitetail mecca. Kansas is
100%.
now quickly following in that, like, I drew 7 years in a row. Jared jinxed me. I didn't draw this year. And so now all of a sudden it's like, okay, you need a preference point to pretty much be guaranteed a draw in Kansas.
Yep.
At what point does this now carry over to in Illinois? Because it's going
to. It's going to. I mean, look at that. And that's what I was touching on. You know, I put in like 15 states trying to draw as many tags as I can, because obviously you're not going to draw in a lot of these states, right? You're hoping you draw 2 or 3 tags. And I think Iowa now has raised, or by the numbers this year of applicants overall, someone was telling me, who is very informative on the subject, that it'll take a whole nother point now to draw these zones.
That's what we heard. It was like 4+, and then you draw. Now it's going to be 5.
5 or 6. And I had 6 max, and I drew, but I know a guy with 4 that did not. Your gun hunter is going to be 3 or 4 now.
Did he describe to you like what that was? There an actual change that was made, or it was just literally the numbers were such?
Literally, the numbers were that high.
Yeah,
there was not a change made. The numbers were that high of applicants.
We saw that in
all-time
Kansas.
High. Colorado saw the same thing this year, and Montana. I can't tell you how many guys told me Montana draw was brutal this year. We know a guy, and you guys know him too, from Precision Arms. It's been hunting Montana like 12 years in a row.
Yep.
This is the first year he didn't draw a tag, and he pulled the numbers from Go Hunt on applicants, and it was the highest ever, and that was mule deer.
As was Kansas. I mean,
mule deer.
Yep.
Our unit in Kansas was about 1,000 applications over. That was like a 42% increase from last year. It's insane.
Well, I think, talking about COVID, like we mentioned earlier, and we're not I don't want to get into politics, but just as you know, these all these applications are up, I think everybody's got extra money. You know, I think everybody's got extra money, and I think that being on lockdown basically for a lot of 20 made people want to get out. You know, get outdoors. So I really feel like that has that's played into those. That's my take on the rise in applications you're seeing, Jay.
Let's talk. Jared and I have been like trying to bottle this thing but we'll do a piss poor job of it. Like the season's like here.
Are we talking about bottling piss?
No. we do bottle that. Just don't put it the whole way in the bottle. Yeah. The season's here, right? So we leave August 30th.
Like 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yep. For the Dakotas.
Well, you guys are heading out. What'd you say?
Yep. What's your first? What do you got?
I hunt next Sunday, and I hunt.
Oh yeah, it's here.
Gators, bitches.
Yeah, I'm hunting gators in Florida for the first time ever.
Nice.
That's gonna be awesome, man.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the beautiful thing about hunting and the camaraderie in a hunting camp. Exactly what we're talking about. There was a guy in camp with me last year. It was like, you like this elk hunting thing? And I'm like, yeah, it's unbelievable. He's like, man, I'm from Florida. I've never shot a rifle over 50 yards before. So I'll never forget this as long as I live. I promise. I laugh about it, and we became good friends now, so I can talk about it. But the guy goes, there's 5 guys in camp, 5-man camp. He goes, how many people here can shoot over 300 yards? And everybody raised their hands, but this kid. And he says, hey, buddy, how far can you shoot? He's like, ultimately, I'd like him to be within 50 yards. He said, did you bring a bow? He said, no, I got a 30-06. Hey, my guts hurt, and I couldn't hold it in. I didn't know this guy. I thought he's probably going to punch me in the face. But we became good friends. He ended up using my rifle to kill his elk, and he just texted
over
me.
50 yards.
It was like 300.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And, you know, it was a precision arms or precision touched it, and I dialed it into 300. I'm like, here, buddy, hold on and squeeze. And we dropped. And since then, he was like, man, you got to come kill a gator with me. Guy kills like 20, 30 gators a year. I was like, man, I don't really want to kill a gator. He's like, and I will say that there are different levels of redneck in the country. The level of redneck in Florida is way higher than it is in Pennsylvania. I mean, these guys.
That's impressive, too.
Get in the
considering
swamp.
our area.
I mean, they get in the swamp and they do some crazy things with water moccasins and gators and stuff that can kill you. Like we don't, and you're right. We live in a very backwoods area, and I love being a redneck myself, but it's a whole nother level down there. So I'm so excited.
That'll be awesome. So what do you get? One tag?
You get one tag, and I'm only there for 2 days. And you put in for a draw. This was interesting too. You put in for a draw on these different lakes, and some lakes are nuisance areas, right? Just like, and that's where the big gators are.
Yep.
So he's like, yeah, you
Golf
might
courses.
Yeah, you might draw.
Old ladies' backyards.
Yeah. The cartoon character with the big ears, I might be real close to that for the lake I put in for. And
that's Mickey Mouse, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So he's like, you'll draw in the first 3 years. Of course, I didn't draw some of the tags I wanted, like Illinois gun, but I drew this gator tag.
In first year.
It's
crazy.
So I fly out Sunday. My tag starts Monday.
And you're going with a bow?
Yeah, you can kill them with any weapon. It can't be a high-powered rifle because of area or whatever. You can use a bang stick or a bow.
Cool.
So I've heard you're supposed to like shoot them in a really specific spot on their head,
sure.
At least with a gun. Is that the case with a bow, or are you just holding for vitals?
I haven't even asked that question. I've been shooting my bow a bunch. Does that count?
Can
He's
you
ready for shot placement.
Can you go based off of like the 3D methodology, where I think they put them right behind
you're right. It's right behind the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I've shot this. I'm shooting the same bow I shot last year.
Is it a bow fishing rig, or is it just straight
flat
arrow?
out straight arrow?
And then he sinks, and then it's like swamp people were watching for like bubbles and casting hooks.
He used
and
this
stuff.
big hook. He was telling me about this big hook, and he's like, when you put a 14-foot
like a treble hook?
lizard on the other end, yes. Because I guess you only throw at the ones you want to kill, because obviously they bite the treble hook. You got him.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going with a really good friend, and you all know my really good friend Shiloh. But he's ate up about it. He can't wait to kill this gator. But Shiloh's hunted all over the world. And Shiloh's hunted with me in a couple gnarly places, and he can't wait. So I flat out told the gator guy yesterday, I was like, if there's a monster gator, he really cares. Like, give him the monster.
Yeah,
gator.
let him have it.
I just want to shoot a gator and bring him back to HuntChef and eat what we kill, baby.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're going to cook some gator shanks, fella.
That'll be awesome, man.
What's the deal with like the, you call it a hide on those things, or the skin?
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
You're like, Dad, he's getting a new pair of boots.
No, he was like, listen, dude, the hunt cost X, but you can sell your gator back to the shops down there legally. So you just give
Yep.
it, and he's like, the least they ever gives you $1,000. And I was like, what? So
So you just sell that back and then take the meat.
that's it. It's exactly what I'm doing. I want a belt.
Yeah.
Call me silly.
I want the skull.
Okay.
If you don't want it,
No, I don't want it.
I want the skull for
There
the
you
set.
go.
I just thought I could wear a belt for a long time as long as I didn't get over 44 inches wide myself.
So what do you get
There
to
you go.
keep, and what does the shop buy back from you?
The leather.
They buy the
Just the
hide.
leather.
They buy the leather, and you can opt to have how much leather you want, how much they can take, whatever. I don't care. I'm just
That's
going to say,
pretty
hey,
cool.
look, give me enough for a belt.
But they'll give you all the meat.
That's it. Send me the meat,
Wow, $1,000.
sell you
Think about how
back
many gators get killed.
the
down
leather.
A lot.
And that was for
Thousands.
so this place we're going. It's like 10 foot. There's like a trophy minimum or whatever, and maybe that's just him. I'm not sure, but he's
Sure.
like, I'm not letting you shoot anything less than 10 feet. I'm like, 10 feet seems like a pretty good.
That's
gator.
a big gator.
Yeah.
Seems like something that would be over pretty quick. Like it seems like you're going to get in a boat, drive out to where the gators are.
There's 4 tags that he doesn't do it. He's not a big outfitter. He just does it for fun. Guy's actually a doctor in his day job.
Yep.
He will never operate on me. And
Boy, that builds a lot of confidence in his patients.
yeah, well, yeah. So there are 4 guys, and he said we will roll 2 gators in the boat the first night. We'll roll the next 2 in the boat the next night. And I was like,
That's awesome.
man, thank God deer hunting isn't that easy.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to worry about the wind.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
You're just out there.
You're gone.
Just find them.
Find them.
All right, so you got that. You got that coming up. Come back. What's is it going west or is it Kentucky?
I'm doing my best, redoing my schedule right now because the fire's out west to try to meet you guys in South Dakota. You text me the dates you're there. So my
Coming
plan,
to the wrong place to avoid the fires.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
we're dry as a bone out there.
Yeah.
Oh. So I'm trying to. I put that deer stick in my mouth, and I didn't know you were going to ask me.
No, you're
that
fine.
question. But yeah, so it's South Dakota, Kentucky opener with bluegrass.
Yep.
You going to South Dakota muleys or whitetails?
I drew the. I think it's either or.
Yeah, it's the combo.
It's the combo.
You going
tag.
all the way west?
Pretty much wherever Flynn tells me to go is where I'm going because I've never been there.
What do you
I
mean?
never drew
Are
the
you
tag
like
before.
actually coming out to meet us there? Or?
I might. I thought about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Or
We'll be there.
Or I was going to go late. That was my actual first plan because I was going to go elk hunting in
Well,
Montana.
the problem with early is it's private land only
Yes.
because they shut public land off until October 1st, which
Yeah.
So that makes
It's
sense. My
stupid.
other buddy that told me to go told me to come out October 15th.
Yeah, because October 1st, you can pretty much hunt wherever you want.
And maybe that was why.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm turning the tables around. So I'll be rifle hunting for elk and bow hunting somewhere in that part of the schedule, right? And I'm playing that on the fires.
Our
because-
guy in the last podcast he's going out early this year, but typically he goes out in the rut to hunt South Dakota.
Yeah.
Jason?
Yeah.
And that's when he's like, yeah, it's just
he
there's
said it's a blast.
big bucks everywhere.
That's what the other guy told me, that the pre-rut is on
It's just
fire.
we're so wrapped up in whitetail at that point. I can't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I think in 2 of the states that I have, there's so much early season food that I'll be okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to try to tag those early and then.
Well, because
move the
you
schedule
got
back
Kentucky, you doing Wisconsin this year.
around. That's it.
Yep. So and those are 2 September openers.
Yeah, and Illinois opens October 1st. No matter what day it falls on, it always has opened October 1st. And I have a giant soybean field on the the crop rotation. It's in soybeans this year, and I have some bucks that are smashing it. So I have never shot an opening day deer in Illinois. I think I've killed 14 or 12 Illinois bucks in my lifetime, which is a lot for a Pennsylvania resident. And I'm going to try it. So I'm thinking now with the fires out west, I'll move those to rifle hunts. Hopefully some water gets in some areas, because what's happening right now, according to the guys that live out there or my contacts, are saying that all the bulls and the elk are pushed up on private land on water tanks because of the fires up high. So when you think about hunting elk, and I know you guys have elk hunted before. Everybody's here elk hunted, correct?
Yep.
Not
Okay,
I.
so they're up high early, and then they're making their way down, right? So with the fires being up high, but that's going to put a real wrench in things.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really interested to see how my schedule plays out here over the next 2 weeks. Crazy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I know a lot of
especially
this,
in Montana.
Yeah.
I see they're shutting down a lot of fishing stuff.
Yeah.
And
now.
I drew a 940 combo tag, which is a hard tag to draw. I
In
had
Montana.
6 points there for it, or 5 points. And I was like, are you kidding me? I drew this. And I told Chef literally the next day, I said, oh my God, I was sitting on 9 points in Wyoming or something. I
Yeah.
was like, I have a 90% chance of drawing that combo, and I didn't, thank God, because I wouldn't know how to
You wouldn't know how to juggle it.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see when the rain actually starts to come there, because I mean, a lot of these high country areas, you know, that food's not there, so now they're in the low country eating food, which they're going to need come winter.
And that's what people don't understand. Like, it is going to really screw up a lot of herd movement that has happened for years. And that's what I'm hearing out there from a bow shop. I mean, big bow shops in the West that I've been friends with for a couple of years. They're like, bud, it's going to be a whole different game. And in what we do, I can't run out there for 16 days.
Yeah, right. And
And
just try
look
to get
for
on
a
'em.
resident herd that just happens to be on public ground. No.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, and even like where we're going to be in the Dakotas, you know, our North Dakota spot is in a river bottom. We can hunt public the day the season opens, which is September 3rd or 4th. But in South Dakota, you know, we're constricted to or restricted to our lease that we have. And there's some neighbors that we're trying to gain access to. That's one of the reasons we got the lease. But until we get rain, they basically said, listen, you know, no offense, just it's a fire risk. We can't have you on. And like, clearly by the map, those are the better places to hunt.
Yep.
So like, we're going to roll into South Dakota for a day, maybe 2. And if we don't get on deer, we're going to North Dakota because we know we'll be on deer up there.
And we, you know, the cool thing about HuntChef Live is we get to meet a lot of different people, a lot of different outdoorsmen that live in a lot of different places in the country. And I said that I drew that tag, and we had some guy message me that night, and it lives there, and said there are still people that will give you permission. And that's why I was like, well, sweet, bro, where's that at? And he actually sent me a pin. I was like, God bless you, baby Jesus, touch me with your message. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
How about
man. Well, and I think part of that too is, again, and it's not that you can't, but like, think about where we're at right now. You start knocking on doors, odds of getting permission aren't real good.
And I don't want to drive 27 hours on hopefully gaining permission for what will probably take us 2 or 3 days if we gain permission.
Which is why Jared's been calling people in South Dakota already just to make touch. Even if we don't hunt on them this year, it's like, hey, like, we'd love to just come up and meet you. That way, if you get in a favorable condition year, like, maybe we can come hunt.
Yeah, and we're going out anyways, so worst case scenario, we'll fall back and do North Dakota. It's probably like nobody's going to cut us off there unless the state pulls something. But
And I get that. It takes years to be in one state to gain access to some
100%.
of these spots. Like this farm in Illinois I'm hunting this year, and Chef knows I tell him this story all the time. It's taken me 12 years to get access to. 12 years I've been trying to get in there.
That's
my
crazy,
first year.
man.
just waiting for somebody to die,
Well,
like we are in Kansas. And one of these years now.
I don't know.
that's kind of what happened.
Some of these people, I think, are going to outlive me at this point, man. Because it is fun. Like, we talk about this all the time with our leases and stuff, and even some of these smaller ones in Illinois. You know, you pull 80 acres, and we've got deer on it. We could potentially kill a big buck on these places, but it's really to get a foot in the door in the area so that you start to talk to neighbors or
Build
the landowner you're
relationships.
working with says, hey, like, these guys are really good. Like, they probably wouldn't give you any problem. And they're only bow hunting or whatever. Like, and those things go a long way. It's how we've built our entire stack of leases in Kansas is that we've got one guy to buy into it. And then next thing you know, they're like, yeah, these guys are awesome. They're here for a couple weeks. You don't even know they're here. Like, and that's really important, especially when it doesn't matter if you're paying for the lease or you're getting permission. There's a lot of people from a hunting standpoint that ruin that opportunity for everybody else real fast.
And it's been ruined for a while. Let's be honest. Like in a lot of these places that I'm hunting now, it's taken 4 or 5 years to get those relationships built because they've all been screwed over by a guy that left bad taste in their mouth with driving their truck through their crops or, you know, and that's the main thing I run into is that guy made my field all muddy going to the yard. Ruined the access road because he was too lazy to walk his stands out. He was mad he didn't kill anything. And I'm like, yeah, you should probably never let him hunt again or any other hunter. I don't blame you.
Yeah, I know. It is a tough spot to be in on that stuff because you're trying to be not represent yourself as a hunter, but like this different hunter. But when they have a bad experience, like in Kansas where we were, nobody hunted that area for 5 years because the last person who was in there said he missed a deer. But regardless, he shot a cow with a rifle. And like instantaneously, every landowner in that area was like, no hunting, done, shut down.
Right.
And so even us coming in as bow hunters.
Didn't realize it until he took the second backstrap off.
Yeah, even us coming in as bow hunters, you know, they were like, well, you know, we don't know. We had this. And I'm like, wait, what? Somebody shot your cow? And he's like, yeah. And, you know, everybody shut down. you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this thing hasn't been hunted in 5 years, so it's
Right.
awesome.
Right.
But also, I'm like, you know, how do you do that? But then again, people in Pennsylvania shoot an elk every year during whitetail season. Like, like, man, I killed a giant buck, and it's like, you just killed a 400-inch bull. Like, what
That's good, right?
Yeah, giant, all right.
Yeah, I know. He's a bull.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's the scary part about it. And that's where it's still like this non-hunting community has to be a little bit hesitant about us, because there are guys out there who will walk out and shoot a 400-inch bull elk and be like, man, I killed a giant whitetail the other day. And you're like, yeah, it's 1,000 pounds.
Like, I feel like there's no excuse for that today, way more than there was 20 years ago, because and you guys know, you hunt out of state a lot, with as usable as the state's websites are today, with where to hunt.
What state's websites you're using?
Yeah,
Most of them.
I mean, there's a couple of them, and I'll throw a bone out there to Iowa. They've done a heck of a job. Their website is excellent.
Yeah.
And
well, that's Brant.
Good newsletter, too. They're on top of their email stuff.
Brant took over that one.
And Montana has two different sections. You deal with the state and you deal with the tag licensing agent or whatever. There's two, because I get two emails, which is confusing. And when I called the lady, I was like, it said I draw, but I can't see my tag. You know what's going on? She was like, well, we're actually two parts. I'm like,
wow.
How does that work?
South Dakota is very similar,
Both
man.
of the Dakotas are terrible.
We had to like call them, because it's like, I don't even know. Like, I tried to apply for a pronghorn tag, and it's like, yes, you can apply. And then I like go to it, and they're like, they're not available for application. I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong?
So where are you guys heading this year? Back to schedule where we were headed.
We
So
got
what's your schedule
Dakotas,
like?
Dakota
I'm a
double.
little fearful even to like say it on the podcast,
Well-
and fear that my wife will like
Here's
know the reality of it.
let me.
This just gets better.
Here's
I like
our.
it. Let
Here's
me
how
get
we
this
backed
mic
up
closer.
our strategy. So, again, Jared and I, from a resource standpoint, we leased a bunch of ground in a bunch of different states, mainly for opportunity. And listen, if there's not a big buck there, we just aren't going to hunt it. That's just. And frankly, I hope there isn't a big buck everywhere, because there's no way we can hunt it all. See, that was me trying to help you out.
There's a will.
Yeah. So we're starting Dakotas. We will, unless we're on muley bucks.
Yeah, Dakotas for sure.
We will only
Scheduled
spend 2 days, maybe 3 at the most, in South Dakota. And that's mainly because South Dakota opens on the 1st. North Dakota opens on the afternoon of the 3rd, I believe.
I'm real interested to see how that's going to go, because we're not going to like leave Big Deer to go to Big Deer.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to kind of make a presence in South Dakota so that next year, because it is over the counter, if we get some good opportunities, some good access, we'll go back.
We're only 2 hours from our North Dakota place when
It's
we're
2
at our
hours,
South
so
Dakota.
it's
So it's like
close.
it's and we know from last year we're going to be in big bucks in North Dakota. It's a guarantee.
Both muleys.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the deer activity picks up, you're headed where?
Kentucky will probably be my next hit, and that actually will probably be with the kids. I've got some bucks I'm going to try to get them on quickly in Kentucky, since that opens. I'll be in Dakotas when it opens.
It's a nice early opener in Kentucky too.
Yeah.
Like, I love the state of the state of Kentucky's hunting rules and regs.
Yep.
I mean, they have done a heck of a job of opportunity for sportsmen.
And still have giants.
And back to where we're talking about whatever you want or however you want to be a hunter, field to fork, trophy hunter in Kentucky, I feel like
Dude, all.
you have an opportunity to be whatever you want to be there. I love it.
Yeah, so that'll be my early season is Kentucky, and then Ohio will be our next
While you're
one.
doing that, I'll probably just be doing anything and everything I can to kill something opening weekend
in Ohio.
What is opening weekend this year in Ohio?
It's usually the last weekend.
I think it's like the 25th.
25th or 26th.
Yeah.
I just looked the other day.
And so Jared's got a family farm in Ohio, and then we also have about 400 acres, a couple miles from his family farm that we leased this year.
I've got another guy that's giving me permission too, good friend of mine.
Jared's family farm tends to be the best, though, in the first week or two, and then it kind of...
I mean, it does as far as deer being there, but it's just like the land of the amazing 3-year-olds that seem to just disappear every year.
You know, we've known each other long enough now, and just for people out there that
That's
don't
where that
know,
buck came from.
yeah, when we
Did you
started,
see that thing?
Yeah. I didn't think Ohio opened early enough
Hammer.
to kill a velvet deer.
Well,
It doesn't.
His balls
Yeah,
are screwed up.
I shot that deer on
Opening day? No, second
day of season,
Yeah.
September 29th, I think.
But he stayed in velvet all year long.
He was in velvet
Wow.
the entire year before as well. It's a 3-year. In fact, I don't think he shed his 3-year-old rack. I think he broke off some parts of it. You see, like on his right beam there, where it hits up real hard, and see where his brow tines kind of look like they were busted off, and then little nodules kind of grew up out of him.
Yeah.
I think
Gray
it's his
hair.
3-year-old rack that he just
That's crazy.
grew back on top of it.
gray hair.
That unicorn deal was exactly the same the year before.
Which doesn't happen.
And he was that size in end of May. The year that I killed him.
that was.
So
I remember getting pictures of him, and it was like,
crazy.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, you were saying.
It's all good. I was just going to say when we started Mtn Top Outdoors, you guys were involved from Stone Road side. And I remember looking at your 3-year-olds then going, how does this kid not kill a giant every year?
because they die every year.
That's it. I mean, honestly, I was
Amish.
like, I mean, your
That's what it
trail
seems
cam
like.
pictures were as good as, if not
He's got-
better than most guys I know.
Yeah.
He's got 2 this year, right? 2 separate ones.
3, if that.
Yeah, we don't know. Like that are 150-inch 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
Mega.
Yeah, we were talking about
What? Yeah,
before
one's
the show.
a unicorn buck. One's got a drop tine on the left thing.
Here, have a deer stick. I'll make it feel better.
Thanks. Oh, last one. Thank you.
Yeah, it's but that's kind of where we're at on that stuff, is that you get to that place where it's like you're growing these big bucks. And one of the reasons we leased this other spot is because it's within the same vicinity, right? So likely similar type deer, but we know from at least some of the neighbors that they're getting to 4, 5, and 6 years old because they killed a 200-incher on there last year, 2 years ago, 2 years
At the
ago.
least, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
at the least.
And most 200 inches in the Midwest you'll never hear about.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got one in Columbus that
Most in Ohio.
will likely
Most in
be
Illinois, too.
200 inches this year.
What?
That one in Columbus.
Oh,
Will be
yeah.
200.
I
He was 200 last
Easy.
year.
He was close to 200 last year. I remember you sending me a picture of that
So
one.
I got to
I'm
go
going,
set cameras up there.
how
But
high's the fence, bro? yeah.
Not high enough.
yeah, apparently not.
High enough.
Not high enough that I could kill him, apparently.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you're good at that.
I mean, it is weird to see. There's one that hasn't shown on the mountain that I'm just cringing over at this point.
I'd rather we not talk about the mountain. I appreciate
He's
it.
just not there, man. That deer was all over 170 last year. Should have been mid 70s this year, and he's usually shown by now, and he hasn't. I have to assume
They're different animals.
We're
They
getting close to
are.
him being dead at this point, though.
I would think that he's probably dead, if, but honestly, I've hunted the mountain just a couple more years longer than you, trail camera wise, just thinking year to year. And some of those old bucks don't show back up until late. They show up for 3 days, and they are so different creatures, 100%. And they're trail camera smart. We see it. We're seeing it more and more every year, right? Would you agree with that, Jared? I mean, deer are getting trail camera smart. I don't care who you are. The older class of bucks that are heavily pressured for sure.
Yeah.
And in the mountain, what we see is 30,000 acres of game lands.
Oh, yeah.
And between the property that you manage and the properties that I manage, we almost have 3,000 acres of private ground.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that much private ground, they still get killed.
Yeah, in between us.
And
Every
it's
year.
like 90% of them get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And it like blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, again, we go back to this kind of tradition. Like the property that I manage has a very rooted rifle season tradition, which is awesome. I love it for those guys. I try to get all my hunting out in bow season anyways, but, last year they killed 5 bucks in rifle season on that property, 4 3-year-olds and a 4-year-old, all of which were the future of what I was going to likely shoot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's good for them. Like, they were great
sure.
bucks.
Well, that's my example of having your cake and eat it. It's great that those guys killed that,
Yeah.
but like that eliminated your opportunities for the next.
What I
couple
boil
years.
it down to now is what I said in the beginning. Bear season ruins the chance of those deer making it, because now that they've combined them and you get this out-of-state opportunity to kill a bear and a deer for $119 or $130, whatever it is, in out-of-state in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I mean, Chef, you saw it last year. Chef was hunting an edge of ours last year, and I mean, it's like a zoo.
Yep.
The Orange Army was out.
They
Full
are
force,
they
man.
are in full force for sure. So those deer just don't have the opportunity. And then 2 years ago, look what we did in Greene County. We killed a Pennsylvania clean booner,
Yeah.
and that doesn't happen.
No.
And that's because there was a bunch of private ground there. The deer got to ended up being 8 years old.
I think the interesting part about like where we're at and again, growing up, would have never thought it, is that the potential is there. I mean, that deer over Jared's shoulders on that property was 162. And the deer that I was hunting last year was, 10 inches bigger than that. And the one that a guy killed in between us 2 years before that, I still haven't scored it, but I believe was damn close to net boon.
Yep.
And that deer was on my property. It was up close to yours, and they killed it on public. This deer was bedded on public, walked over the line to me when I shot him. The big deer that I've been hunting lived on public and on private. He lived in a 4-acre clear cut on the private land I was at, but I know he was crossing the road on the public, which I assume is if he did die from a hunter, that's where he got shot or he got hit by a car, one of the two.
Yep.
You know, and so like even when we're talking thousands of acres of private and then thousands of acres of public, like these deer don't know those lines.
Well, I think the coolest story that you and I can tell right here on this podcast is how much those deer travel.
Yeah, that's wild.
The guy that you managed for 2 years ago killed a deer that was on my food plot that you and I exchanged pictures of 48 hours beforehand, and he went 2 miles?
Yeah, 2 miles as a crow flies.
2 miles.
Yep.
And died.
Yep.
Like, if that ever doesn't tell you that you can't hold him home, bro, you can't hold him home.
Yeah.
Well, and that's here, right? We go out to Kansas.
Oh, you can in some parts of the country. 100%.
I mean, that deer in Kansas, that there was a deer that we called Super 6 that I was in this bottom, watched this deer. By the time I drove up, I think to pick either Jared or my dad up, he was 1.5 miles up in a field above me in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, these
nothing. They can just cover.
They cover so much ground.
just cover ground.
It's a perception thing because, like, 2 miles seems far to us because it would take us two hours to walk it, or whatever. But a deer will cover that in 10 minutes.
We talked about this, and
that's all they do. They get up and walk around.
Right now, it's a different ball game, right? I mean, they're close to their food bed.
Right.
But when you talk about, we talked about this with Rising last podcast, that late season side, that deer wants to bed in the optimum place, and if he has to get up and walk his ass 1.5 miles to the proper grain source or food source, he will.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Like, he's going to get up and he's going to go on a mission down there and he's going to come right back. So, yeah, when we get to the rut, these deer can move all over the place. But we're talking about just standard home range movement here because that was in October.
That was October 18th. I'll never forget it because I thought I was going to kill him on the 16th, and you killed him the 18th.
I didn't kill him.
Well, the guy that you managed for killed him. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I thought that deer was good as dead where he was showing up.
I will say this, not to... Because, I mean, there's one buck I'm looking for in particular in the mountain. And again, like I said, he hasn't showed up. I do have another stud that showed up. I showed Jared a couple days ago. That's a really, really great buck for the mountain. And I've got several others that I would probably consider shooting, but I also would love to see it another year. So they're there.
At this point, for me in Pennsylvania, it's all about just trying to kill the age class. I don't care what he scores. And I think that deer laying right in front of us is a good testament to that,
this
correct?
deer was a monster.
Yeah. I mean, he
Not
was...
rack-wise, but a monster deer. That deer was probably 7 or 8 when I killed him. And he had decreased 25 inches from the year before, but was a horse.
And that's a good testament to what I'm talking about. As long as you kill the upper age class of deer and you as a land manager have done your job. Jared, fair?
Yeah.
That's all we hunt. We hunt 4 and older, I would say. We want to kill a big buck, don't get me wrong, but...
I killed a 3-year-old mule deer last year.
I killed a 2-year-old. So.
And you could argue if mule deer aren't really mature till they're 6.
Yeah.
And when I go out of state,
6 to 8.
throw all that in the trash.
Different ball game. Well, but I mean, no, I think that's
Forget everything I just said.
Yeah, but I think that's a good. I mean, to be honest, most of my Kentucky and my Pennsylvania season will be dedicated to the kids.
Yeah.
I probably won't even hunt until I know I can go in and kill a deer. Like if it's like opening day and stuff, I'm just taking the kids to try to kill one, get their tags on stuff. That's just where my priorities are as a dad at this point.
And HuntChef does a great, and I give him kudos on HuntChef Live all the time, and it's where it's due. HuntChef does a great job of taking his kids out a ton.
It's not easy, dude.
No,
a ton. He gets them
it's
out
work
every time
it is.
he can.
But and it's different. Like when I was a kid, I went because I wanted to hunt. I wanted to be with my granddad. I wanted to go, and there were no blinds. I mean, he'd carry in a metal 5-gallon bucket, charcoal, hot dogs, everything, and we'd stand there on an old spoil pile or something, keep our hands warm, cook lunch, and just wait. And then when that Orange Army was getting to moving, there'd be 25, 30 deer run past. He'd pick one out, and then the work started. Now, the kids, I mean, you got the phone, you got the Nintendo Switch, you got drinks, you got snacks, you got a ground blind, you got
the
chairs,
buddy heater.
you got the buddy heater, you got the shooting sticks. I mean,
I know, man. I feel like I'm packing in for an elk hunt to just like walk 200 yards to a blind.
Yeah, but I don't care. I'll do it all day, every day. It's great. I mean, and I'm so happy that Pennsylvania's been able to do the mentored youth thing. And I'm sure there's people out there that abuse it, but if I had to drag my kids along just with me hunting until they were 12, I don't know, Dick. Even
I don't.
with all
I
the
don't
crazy
think in
shit I did, that
today's
they would grow up to be hunters.
society,
yeah,
you could
right.
let
There's
them
too
get
much
to 12.
competition.
That's right.
Can't do it.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, my oldest killed his buck, first buck this year on the first Sunday of rifle, right?
Nice.
Which, again, we talked about this in a couple podcasts. Like, he didn't understand how, not just the moment's special for me, right? First kid that kills a deer, it's a buck on our own property right behind the house.
Nice.
Like, we were just out of our mind. But first Sunday, and I was like, dude, you don't realize I've never been able to hunt
a
a
Sunday.
Sunday in this state. Like,
Yep.
he shot that like 5 minutes after shooting light. I was like, you realize this could be the first buck legally killed on a Sunday. In Pennsylvania in 100 years, ever, whenever.
Well,
Whenever the hell they
yeah,
can do it.
that's a heck of a perspective right
And
there.
That is.
And so, that moment of that was really special for the whole family because, again, we've got 27 acres behind the house. We hunt on the mountain mostly, but 27 acres right behind the house. He kills it there. My wife comes out of her stand. Our youngest is with us in the blind when it happens.
Yeah.
It's that brought back, and we did our kind of own little deer camp because COVID was still kind of,
Sure.
And then my youngest, the day after Christmas, because he waited, I said, hey, your older brother has to go first. Once he's done or he gets his, then it's your turn. So the day after Christmas, it's like 7 degrees, right?
Right.
Snow on the ground. And I was like, hey, man, let's just go back. We'll sit in the blind, just see what happens, right? And take the crossbow with us. 5. Just turned 5 at that point. But he had practiced all year with his brother. Like, he was ready. And, like, there's just does, like, pounding into the woods all around us. And we're just waiting. And finally, this button buck and this doe come up, and he's on my lap because he can't see up over the thing. And my leg's shaking so bad that he has to tell me to stop because he can't focus. Right?
That's when you know you're living, brother.
Yeah. And there's a button buck right in front of us, and I'm like, man, just shoot that one. And I see him like tilting. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, the big doe's over here. And he turns and 20 yards just heart shots her. She goes 50 yards, and I saw her fall. And I mean. Again, I just like the first one,
That's
I
awesome.
fall apart.
Yeah, that's
right.
awesome.
But then like I tried to calm down and say, all right, man, we had snow on the ground, right? Start tracking, find blood, find arrow, find blood, find arrow. And those moments you can't replace at some point.
They never get them back.
They double teamed on their first gobbler this year. 1, 2, 3 shoot, both at the same time, dropped them. I had to check the guns to make sure they both actually shot.
Yeah.
And those are the things that now, as we get into this season, like, don't get me wrong, I want to kill a big buck in Pennsylvania and Kentucky, but if those guys put a tag on something, season's good.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm out.
Yep.
Doesn't bother me anymore.
Like that's where I see Mtn Top Outdoors TV going over the next 2 to 3 years. And for y'all for everybody doesn't know.
Let's talk about this. Talk about where you guys were in the past with Mtn Top and then where this is going for us.
Sure. So in 2017, I found a Mtn Top Outdoors, and I came to meet this fellow across from me at his bar and restaurant, the Stonehouse, in late 2017. I introduced myself to Mr. Jeremy Flynn sitting beside me shortly after that.
Yep.
And we started Mtn Top Outdoors with our buddy Z up on Lake Erie with Smoking Eyes. And my vision was hunt, fish, cook. HuntChef was preparing, world-class culinary wild game, showing people how to eat it better. There would be some sort of storyline of harvesting it, and there would also be some fishing involved. Well, here we are. 2020, we went to the Sportsman Channel for our first full season, and we're looking like we're heading back there in 2021. And it is, I mean, you've seen it firsthand, and thanks for all your help. I mean, with Stone Road Media, it has definitely evolved into something special. And last year was our first season trying to get 13 episodes, and boy, was that fun. Huh,
On the
Chef?
fly.
Yeah.
Which is, if people don't understand the TV world, right? Most things are captured, let's say for 2020. You captured in 19, you produce it, and you air it in 20.
Yep.
You guys were capturing and producing pretty much simultaneously.
Yeah, and hats off to you, Jay. I mean, I had no clue. The editing, the production, the sound, the color, the closed captioning, cutting all the spots for commercial breaks. I mean, there's just so much technical stuff there, and grinding through hundreds of hours of footage to put out 21 minutes,
22
minutes.
22
plus
TRT.
the back end work for getting sponsors. Trying to make it at least a break even deal. ideally one day it'll be profitable.
Yep.
But you know,
Ideally.
for now, you know, it's what we love. It's a passion, and again, hats off to Jay for bringing the production piece to air. I mean, what a grind.
So how do you set up for 21
And
now?
how about in the meantime, the guy lays down 1,100 inches of whitetail
that's what I was
bone in
going
one
to say.
season.
Because you're posting, you're editing this stuff on the road
In a camper
as you're hunting.
on a Wi-Fi hotspot at night while we're hunting by day. I just
Pretty
told.
impressive, fella.
I just told. Thanks.
That's
I-
burning it at both ends.
Hey,
Love it.
I just told Chef 2 days ago on a truck phone call. I said, dude, it was an act of God.
Yeah.
What happened
Yeah.
last year?
Well, dude,
between
I
killing
had a
and
very
getting it-
transparent conversation when you
Yeah.
talked about going on the network.
Yeah.
And I said, well, when are you going to edit this stuff? And you're like, while I'm on the road. And I said, man, good luck to you. All right. Because I just know I know how it is when
Yeah.
like Jared and I, like there's no way, like after a hunt, like we're exhausted. Especially when you do a 7-day hunt. People think about a whitetail. Oh, you just go out in the stand and sit. You do 7 days of whitetail hunting out and back in the stand. You're spent
Yep.
by the time you get to the end of that hunt.
It's a large team effort. Let me start there, but you know, I just totally believe that God put a lot of people in the right places for last year, and that's what happened. I mean, the kid that was my cameraman, I had a cameraman schedule. He backed out 2 weeks before the season started, and the kid that was my cameraman ended up being a golf course employee of mine who had just graduated from college a month ago. And I knew a guy locally that did it, Mr. Michael Morgan, Levi's brother, and I said, hey, dude, help. And he had gave him some logistics on a camera. The kid had never touched a camera before, and we went out and laid down 1,300 inches and 13 episodes on a Sportsman channel.
That's crazy, man.
I don't know what else to tell you, but that was the black and white of it. I'll never forget we
And
dropped
it wasn't as easy as you make it sound.
No,
I mean,
not
you,
at all. It
You
was
had
brutal.
some long
That sounded
grinds.
It was
on some of
brutal.
those.
September.
Are you guys still doing it? Are you still editing like on the road?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, September. So which part do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the editing stuff. Let's stay on the show first.
So the editing stuff, I'll never forget. In Kentucky, we were behind the 8 ball, as you know, and we laid down that deer. We cut him up, put him in. Well, we didn't cut him up. We brought that one back whole. We
Yeah.
put him in the truck, and as we're loading up, we are covered in blood. Whatever we do to get this deer in the road, I literally get in the back seat. I set up my laptop. I put my headphones on, and I'm already downloading the footage, starting to cut the TV episode on the drive home while Ryan Gesso drives us home. And I said, dude, we got to stop and wash off somewhere because I don't want to get all this stuff all over my keyboard. And he pulls into the Bullet Bourbon Distillery.
Well, that's not a bad place to pull
Yeah.
off.
That's the only place that was there.
Yeah, that's-
And I
that's-
literally-
No more editing was done that day.
That's the only place that matters at this point.
Listen,
Yeah.
we go to the front thing, and with COVID, it was appointment only. And
Right.
God bless this lady. I said, look.
You're like covered in blood.
Yeah.
She's like freaking
Help
out.
us, please help us.
Hey, that's exactly what it sounded like. I'm going, we're going to jail getting shot right here. But we are in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I remember just Ryan's like, you think this is a good idea? I was like, absolutely not, but we got to try.
We're going to do it anyway.
So we have a camper. We pulled a camper around the country. We have a camper behind the truck. Our truck's wrapped. So we have some legitimacy, right, that we have a TV show. And I tell the lady, the receptionist standing out front, was like, hi, sir, do you have an appointment? And I was like, no.
Like, I have a TV show.
Yeah. Did you see the truck out here?
Did you see the truck?
Hey, I had no other go-to here, but hey, listen, I need some help. And she was like, oh, what do we need help with? And I was like, how much is it a tour? And she's like, it's $50 a person. I said, I'm happy to pay for a tour, but I just need to use your bathroom for like 20 minutes so we can clean up, get back on
20
the road.
minutes.
We were
Gotta watch the Franks and Beans
Wow.
after that one.
hey, bud, I had ticks all over me. I'll never forget it.
Oh, that's no
Covered.
joke, man.
And yeah, so she was so sweet. She was like, yeah, she's like, it's fine.
She's like, how many bottles of bourbon do you want while you're
Well,
here?
that is a question she asked. She said, will you be purchasing anything? And as you know, my day job, I run a bar and golf
Yeah.
course. I was like, yeah, I'll buy like 10 bottles. That's fine, but I need to use that bathroom. She let us in.
Sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. So we cleaned up, and I edited that episode on the drive home for the spine. I got home. I slept for 4 or 5 hours, and Chef will tell you I didn't sleep very much last year.
Yeah.
And it was due in 48 hours later.
That's crazy, man. That's pressure to
And you're
put
going
that
to do
in.
it again this year?
Well,
You've got a little bit.
Seems like something you'd want to try to get away from.
I have a cushion this year.
Yeah, you've-
I didn't actually dump Colorado bull, a bear hunt, and the Ohio 13-inch brow tine buck I killed with the muzzleloader, the Precision Arms muzzleloader.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some in the can.
Cool.
And I have them already spawned up. I've actually been working on it the last couple of weeks.
That's
so
the way you got to do it. You got to at least give yourself some breathing room to get out of the gate, have some shelved so you can pull them down when you need them.
That would at least get us into December, and that would be key.
Yep.
I can't think of. I don't want to speak poorly on your.
Sure.
I just can't. I can't pull myself out of that hunt. I just hate it. Anything, like even a text message, I'm like, don't text me. Like I'm hunting.
Yes.
You know what I mean? To think about editing a whole show.
Hey, so back to, that's where it hit home with me when you said, man, I enjoy hunting camp and I enjoy celebrating with my buddies. I'm here to tell you, Chef will tell you, it was business last year. I mean, because we had and back to the other subject, I had a brutal start. I mean,
I remember.
Brutal.
I couldn't kill a damn thing.
Well, you tried like hell, fella.
I did.
I mean, you drove a lot of miles, and
my Lord.
You tried like hell. No one can ever take that from you. But we got through September, and we were sitting with a goose egg.
Yeah.
And we got to October 1st, and Heaven's Gates opened up or something, or Baby Jesus just reached out and handed me a horseshoe, because for 9 weeks in a row, I shot an animal.
Wow.
15 animals total, 9 Hope and Young caliber deer.
That's crazy, dude.
It'll probably never happen again, but hey, it was fun.
Well, how many of them were on the 5th or 6th day?
And that's where I wanted to go to next.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, we did 12 days. Kansas, we did 9 days. We had 2 7-dayers in there. And that's where I was going to go with when you guys were talking about spending 5 or 6 days with a buddy in deer camp.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to kill an animal in a place you've never been, or a caliber of any caliber, I don't care what caliber, in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of 6 or 7 day grinds. I remember texting Chef and Flynn here saying, man, I'm seeing them. I'm just not getting, especially primitive.
Yeah.
In the archery game, that is so tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I think last year was weather driven. Like I know Kansas was like, I shot mine on the first morning and then it was a freaking heat wave the rest of the year.
Well, and that's what I tried to do, to be honest. If there was anything that someone's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I played the weather. I didn't play the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys remember in the far north last year, October 21st, there was a snowstorm cold front that hit Wisconsin.
Yep.
And I remember looking at Ron and said, we got to go and we got to stay on the road. Like, kiss your mom goodbye, honey, because we probably ain't coming home for 2 months. And God bless my wife. Let me throw that out there.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
She was a trooper because she understood that there was 3 or 4 years of sweat, blood, and tears here between me and Chef working a day job to get this shot.
Sure.
And sure, it wasn't perfect by any means, but we're here. Anyhow, from there on out, we would just look at the weather, seeing where the weather was going to be best that week, and we went there. So when you guys are talking about that heat wave that hit here, we came back east.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a couple days of filming at home. We actually filmed a good Pennsylvania buck. I remember texting you in the lowlands, and we didn't kill him.
Yep.
Because we thought he had severe potential. And it worked out because I killed my second 5-year-old in Pennsylvania in a row on video in Pennsylvania, which is...
Was that during rifle season?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where, again, we've got opportunities, and we're seeing big bucks right now, which is all we need to know that we're going to be in the game. It's just, I'm not going to go out and hunt just to hunt.
No, I mean, it's not worth it, really.
Yeah.
It's not. And I'm excited because I'm setting up something really special for my kids. Like, I can't wait. And my kids are a little younger than you and Chef's at 3 and 5. And next year, I think, is the year where they're following me everywhere. And I think that's where you see a big turn in Mtn Top Outdoors TV to where it's going to be mostly around the kids. And I'll hit my 4 or 5 powerhouse leases and hunt some deer that I enjoy doing. But, man, last year was pressure packed, and I feel very blessed. But, man, it was fun. Like those 4 or 5 weeks in a row, then when you're in a rut. I remember killing a deer in Kansas, getting him out there at 10 o'clock in the morning, calling Chef the next morning in Missouri with a rifle in my hand and killing my second deer in 24 hours in 2 states. And one was a 140 and one was a 135.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
He was like, really?
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think that goes back. Well, even like we were talking about with the Dakotas, there's a point in time, and it's 3 weeks, maybe, even from Missouri and Kansas to Pennsylvania. There's 3 weeks that you got to be killing and hunting. Yeah. And if you sit out one of those weeks just because you're busy or work or what life,
you're done.
Yeah,
if you're trying to pull off a run like that.
Slips right by you.
Slips right by. It happens so fast. Think about the
weather can put a dent.
And
in
I was
those
just going to
3
say
weeks,
that. Think about with the weather.
It can become 1 week.
How many
2 weeks.
opportunistic days we have as bow hunters, gun hunters. I don't care what you're hunting with. If you're in a 3-day gun season in Illinois and it's 90 degrees, and I've done it with a shotgun in your hand, which is now a precision arm. I don't care how far we can shoot, but if the weather's 90 degrees, the big deer aren't moving.
Yeah, they're not moving.
I think that flexibility, there's a lot of guys that you see have flexibility in their schedules, like policemen in some cases, or they're hunting during weekdays and stuff.
Nurses,
yeah, whatever. Guys that have flexibility to be able to actually watch like things that will affect movement patterns and go out and hunt those. Those are the guys that are killing.
Versus 90% of the hunters who are booking their vacation,
or a single week.
So many weeks in advance.
So funny you bring that up because I had some, and you guys know him way better than I do, but I had some great conversations with Ben Rising this week.
Which brings us to the moon conversation.
Well, I was gonna touch first on the law. Guys you've heard for years hate the law. And Ben's like, man, I was following your stuff last year. I mean, heck of a season. I said, Ben, guys hate the law. What's your take on the law? He's like, I love the law too.
Yeah, I think
they're patternable.
I think it's weather dependent, right?
But you need that cold front.
You need a cold front.
It's so key to get that 5 to 10 degree drop on scrapes in middle of October, where you are guaranteed to lay one up somewhere if you 100%. Put your time in. 100%.
Yeah, I think and this is kind of going back to that tradition thing, because I remember always bitching about the October law, blah, blah, blah. I think what it was is early season, I'm set up on a bean field or whatever, and 2 weeks into the season, that bean field's gone, and I'm not seeing deer, and it's like, well, no wonder, dude. Like, they're not coming there anymore. Yeah. Why would they come there? You know, they're on acorns over here, and you're still sitting in the same stand. I mean, when I grew up, I had permanent 2x4 tree stands that I climbed up into.
Yep.
You weren't mobile. You went and sat the same damn stand every weekend, every hunt, whatever you did. And ultimately, like, at some point, you experienced the lull because you either put too much pressure on it or you set up for summer and early fall, and then they're on acorns. There's no deer even around you.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you ask Chef how much I hunt, he'll probably, or if someone asks Chef how much I hunt, he'll probably, in my home state, he'll probably tell you not a lot, because I don't. Like, my thing is pressure. Keep that human scent out of there as much as you can. And that's where, in today's world, with what's on your shirt, sir, with Onyx pins, being able to put a pin there, not touch it for almost a year, put a camera up there that goes to your cell phone that gives you instant.
Dude, those cell cams are the ticket.
Instant information.
Yep.
And then you can go in and kill them. It's come a long way.
I bet
fella.
cell cams are like gotta be one of the number one reasons that non-resident deer applications are out.
I mean, that's what we did. That's what
it's
we
absentee
did.
stuff.
Well, it's instant gratification for a guy that has not
I've been
hunted
checking
very
them all
much.
on this podcast.
I saw you right there. I was like, man, he's over there checking his trail cameras.
Well,
I don't feel bad, so I went over and started checking mine.
Yeah.
It is, but even beyond that, like places that are more than an hour or two drive, it's like, well, you don't have to do that drive anymore. So just set it and forget
well,
it.
and let's say you do make the drive, and you're like, man, giant bucks last week. Then they'll be shit right now.
Yeah. Oh, like what are we gonna do? Drive out to Illinois
No.
once a month and like try to check these cards?
No. And I mean, people, there's a big group of guys who are really negative against the cellular cams, and I get it to a point. You know, if you're talking about like, oh,
where do you? I haven't really seen that.
Well, Arizona just banned them. Banned trail cameras.
Jesus.
Period. Can't use them at all anymore.
Right.
Okay.
It started in 2022.
And there are a couple other states that are
Montana's one
are trying to to follow suit, and I think that will be really hard for the guy that has been running instant information to his phone, especially out west. Think how big out west is.
Oh, I know.
But I understand if you have one honey hole wallow in a certain ridge out west, it's as deadly as they come. So now that you got instant information, it's not like a whitetail.
Yeah.
Where there's one every square mile.
No.
There's a 400-inch bull every, I don't know,
county
out west. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole different game, right?
I think that people, and you have to understand how you use them. Like, just because I'm getting it, like, if there's a buck on a food plot right now, like, that's just me putting another, pin in the puzzle of like what he's going to do.
Great point.
Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to kill that deer because he did that just now. Even during the hunting
certainly
season.
gonna help.
Well, I mean, there's been plenty to where
there's a valid argument. I mean, that most recent information kills deer.
It kills deer, 100%.
But people use them wrong, is where
I do.
Rely on them wrong is where he's going, and I love it because I catch myself doing it from time to time. Where you get and we both love to food plot.
Yeah.
And especially in the place that we call home, food is king because there is no food, right?
Yep.
But I get so caught up in remembering back to when I got it out west where my best trail cam pictures in the rut were transition points coming from the neighbor's farm or a big pinch or a big funnel. And now, if you use the information correctly, and I know guys that do, it's not me, but I talk to some of the guys who do like Mark Luster and these guys at Ben Rising have killed giants year after year. I mean, if you can watch wind direction and how those deer react on that wind and the moon phase and thermals, homie, it's over.
I think the point that you're making that I agree with is that the trail camera picture alone doesn't kill the deer.
No.
It's all about how you interpret
Strategy.
the information.
Lots of guys can get pictures of them.
100%.
Lots of guys can get pictures of them.
I get lots of pictures of deer I don't kill.
Me too.
In fact, I will be the first to say that although I overuse trail cameras, I overuse cellular cameras to the point that I won't hunt and I'll miss my opportunity and it's out the window.
One of my best friends told me that 2 years ago. He
Do it
said,
every
you
year.
are so into trail cams now. He's like, you used to kill a lot of stuff. You don't anymore because you play your trail cameras too much.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
mean,
like, you're an idiot. And I thought about it. Came back next week and said,
That
hey,
gi-
thanks for that. Appreciate it.
A giant buck on the mountain last year. I had him pinned. 4 acres, knew
Yeah.
exactly where he was, knew where he was coming, had my blind there. Everything was perfect. And I said, here comes this late October front. It was like the 25th and 6th, right? Front's coming through on the 25th. Morning of the 26th, all day said, I'm killing this deer. That night, as the front's coming through, 5 p.m., it's rainy, it's nasty, it's shitty. Here he comes walking across with the first doe and estrus right in front of my blind. And that was it. As soon as he got unheard, next 96 hours are locked up.
And that's what I'm talking about with opportunistic days on a mature whitetail. I mean, it's very short.
Yeah.
Very short.
One time.
Weather, out of state, if you got to drive 4 or 5 hours, I mean.
Well, that's where Jared and I really get not frustrated. I mean, I was happy and lucky last year, killed a great buck. But then the next 5 days of grinding,
we should have been here.
you looked at the weather conditions out there and it's like, man,
And that's
we
what I
really
did
shouldn't have been
in November,
here.
like November 7th, November 9th, somewhere in there.
We really shouldn't have been there.
I came home
It was that third week.
third week.
Yeah, 16th
in November.
to the
It
like
was
20th.
hot. I mean, it was hot.
I remember leaving Big Bill's. It was hot, and I was like, I'm going home, recoup, visit the wife, reload for gun seasons, and that's what we did, and it ended up working out. But that's
It's tough.
When it's
I,
hot,
I
you can't
do.
go.
I wish ultimately we could get there. It'd be amazing if we could be so flexible to be like, well, cold front in Illinois. Here we get. Like, let's go.
Yep.
But we work and families and stuff, so it's tough to get that much flexibility.
Yep. 100% flexibility.
So, like, we have a guaranteed week in Illinois this year. We've already laid it out. It's whatever, the 7th to the 12th or something.
And those are
Trick
the
is
best deer
you make
camps.
those tricks longer.
Yeah.
yeah, and you just focus on
Those are
making
the-
those a good
Those are the best deer
camp
camps.
environment.
Yeah.
The best solid one to pick is like our Dakota hunt. It's opening week.
Yeah.
Those deer are on complete summer patterns. They're unpressured. It doesn't matter what the weather is. You just go. You go and hunt 'em.
It's the far away ones and the ones that we can tie to like a historical pattern. So like first week of September is the Dakotas. We know it's early season or it's super far away, so it's a set trip. Illinois, second week of November, it's kind of pretty far away too, set trip. Everything else is within 6 hours.
So you'd be fine.
And we have several farms to be able to jump around. on.
Pennsylvania, Ohio,
To the
Kentucky.
point of the experience hunts, that's the cool thing about an experience hunt too. If you don't have 5 guys that you want to go hunt with every year, and you got one buddy that you can go hunt with, you can go an experience hunt and make new friends.
I
and
think that's cool.
That's the
Yeah.
thing that you can get the full process. Like I still have some buddies that go on the same lease in Ohio that I was part of 8-9 years ago, and it was me and another buddy's lease. And I always think about, man, it'd be fun to go there again. But like 3 years in a row, they've hit bad weather. They go, they all take off work.
Yep.
They go there for 5 days in Southern Ohio, and this gentleman over here is from that area somewhat. And when it's that hot, they're not moving. What do you do?
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't have flexibility. That November one is the tough one for us because we lock it in,
Yeah.
whether it's Kansas or Illinois, and we're going and we're
Yeah.
hunting. And if the weather's not good, but it's so unpredictable. So, like this year, was 80s several of those days.
Wow.
The deer aren't moving.
Well, and who knows, man? We might like if we get a good enough pattern on something in October,
Yeah, we might just go out
one
and
of
try
us
to kill.
is going to go.
3 years ago, though, that same week in Kansas, it was 20 degrees and snow for the whole week.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, and I saw $10 a day. And so again, it's so critical. We beat Ben up a little bit about red moon and moon theory, but
Dude, Ben said he actually is planning some of these trips, and I believe him. I don't think
100%.
he's full of shit on it.
100%
Yeah,
based
he's
on red
planning
moon.
some of his trips around these red moons.
I do too.
I'm sure he's trying to correlate it with weather events and everything else. It's not the standalone.
Yeah, if
factor,
you have a
but
red moon and it's 90 degrees out in
Right.
November, they're not moving.
I've seen better luck on the red moons, 100%. I buy the app every year since they've had an app, I think, for 3 years, and I have definitely seen better luck on the red moons. Can I say that I killed a big buck every time on the red moons? And let me clear it up. I shot 1,100 inches last year. I didn't shoot any giants. I didn't shoot one. But I didn't leave time to shoot any either.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I was shooting the first 140 down the pipe. See you later.
Well, I think what would be interesting about
Yeah.
about your hunts, though, is that you had a set schedule that you had to go and at least hit points. Where Ben, and this is kind of my counter to the moon theories, is
Sure.
if you're basing your trips only around red moon, well, shit, yeah, that's when you're going to see deer and kill them because that's the time you're in the woods.
That's a very good point.
that's why I think we're in a great position to test that out.
And we're going to test it out.
And we're going to because we don't. Neither of us, I don't think personally,
I hunt by
think
weather.
that the red moon has anything.
I
to
hunt
do
by
with it.
weather. And that's
But
100% what I go.
We're going to acknowledge that it might, and so we got the app, and we're going to just, see what happens, and then correlate it to the moons.
So real quick, and just to flip the subject, because I know we've been going a while, but where Mtn Top Outdoors is at right now, we're going to do the same thing this year. I'm going to hit the hunt country hard. Last year I did 79 days on the road. I have 76 days planned this year.
Wow.
Pulling the camper around the country again. And, who knows how long that'll last, because as you guys know, and you hear it every week, the sponsor game is so tough in today's market. HuntChef will be cooking it up, spinning it, and showing you the people out there how to prepare it better. And hopefully I can get on the road and lay down some footage for them to watch and tell a good story. And here we go. I mean, the only new additions are the Climb series on YouTube, and
that's Aaron's.
Aaron Webb, and Working Man Bow Hunter. Working Man Bow Hunter, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the piece he put out on Mtn Top Outdoors YouTube last week with Becoming a Hunter.
Yep.
I mean, that was an awesome flick. That dude did such a nice job of getting a kid out there, filming and telling a story.
Where's he from?
He's from Michigan. He's a Become One film school grad.
Yep. Which we looked
What's
at.
his name?
Butch Bauer.
Okay.
And
We looked
he's
at a bunch of the Become
working
Yeah, I
on
wrote a
Bow
couple
Hunter.
of them too.
Yeah, I mean, he is. Long story short, Butch reached out to me and said, I'd love to become part of what you're doing. I missed the team aspect, and I thought about Chef and I's last season, and I was like, it's really hard. Kudos to anybody that does it on their own out there, like
Well,
a
we've had
Levi
that
or
talk,
somebody.
all of us, about
good Lord.
you guys trying to be
Yeah.
everything and anything, and it's like it's only so much time in your day.
Yeah. And that's what's tough.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense. And so those will all be digital series.
So that'll be the digital series on our Mtn Top. You'll see lots more HuntChef stuff coming out on HuntChef YouTube as well as Mtn Top YouTube. But I think you'll see 90% of the killing stuff on Mtn Top YouTube, just, trying to work with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And, here we go. So we're more than likely headed back to the Sportsman channel, and if not somewhere on the air. And we're in the middle of that. But, the schedule's set. Wildfires are out there.
Is Sportsman's Channel also airing on Outdoor America on DirecTV?
Some of
Outdoor
the
Channel?
series. Nope. Some Sportsman's Channel series are on Outdoor
Wonder if
America
Mountain
as well.
Top will be.
We're working on it.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. We just haven't got there yet, and we've been trying to figure out
I'd love to be able to watch that.
the long game plan. Well, I mean,
It's funny. Jared just tripped on outdoor. I mean, obviously we work with them, but
Yeah.
you're just on your Samsung or whatever TV, and you're like, oh, there's Outdoor
I
America.
bought a Samsung TV, and this one came with a basic cable package. Not cable,
Wow.
it's like a DirecTV package.
well, there's so many things out there like that, like Friendly
Yeah.
TV, wasn't it? Is
Well,
that
Yeah,
Yep.
Friendly is what's pushing.
and how much was that,
outdoors.
Chef?
It's like
$5 a
$5.95 a
month.
month or something.
Crazy.
Yep.
Yep.
Because I
You know
don't
how
have
much I-
cable, so
yeah, you know how much I
but
pay for
stream
DirecTV
it
a
all.
month? I don't even want to tell you.
It's outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on Atlantic Broadband here. It's
Oh.
ridiculous. The only reason I have cable is because if I cut cable and just keep internet, I might as well have cable because it's the same price.
I like that you still have something on YouTube though.
Well,
The
you,
new
you,
series
got to
and
try to
stuff will be
you got to
good.
try to diversify.
that's where I get a majority of my hunting content is YouTube.
Mhm.
You got to diversify, right? And Flynn made a great point. I mean, I learned a lot through last season, and Chef will tell you and you guys saw, not hiding anything black and white, the first couple episodes were really, really rough, and then they got a little bit better continuously because Baby Jesus blessed me with some guy that offered to help.
Yeah.
And to you guys' point, a lot of that was Alex and Evan early on, and that Mike had helped me down the road, and now with having Working Man Bow Hunter on board that can cut some serious stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
in-house.
the Become One school is not
Yeah.
nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, that's good stuff.
I really have a lot of confidence in this season putting out a serious product, and hopefully we get some sponsors to get behind us, and we can continue doing what we love to do, right, Chef?
Yeah, amen. I mean, the editors, producers I worked with, for the first season of Mtn Top Outdoors and some of the stuff we've done since, they're young and great, but I just hired full-time video production editor guy.
Yep.
He's into little fast loud cars from Japan on the side.
I love it. He doesn't look like it.
Yeah, no, not at all.
You'd be like, you like tractors, bro? Yeah.
You'd be like,
No.
nope.
No.
Subaru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
He's drifting.
Yeah, but I just, I just want to
maybe
put
sex drive.
so much. I just want
the
to get
Amish
as
dude.
much
What's going through my head?
wild cooking content out as I can. And there's so many platforms. I mean, it's mind bending.
Well, I've seen a lot more picking you up, even like Wide Open Spaces. I know you guys have done stuff with. I think that as you kind of see, there's a huge demand for it.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, again, not just because you're here. I think the seasoning line is a huge key to even somebody like a Jared who typically is very limited in what they have from here's what I use.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because he's not going to go out and buy paprika and this and that. Like, he's not going to have like an entire spice cabinet full of stuff.
I do.
You just don't use it.
just don't use it.
You just don't use it.
What? Yeah, so to keep flipping the subject here, what is the best way though? Like if I or anybody in a similar situation was like, I wish I could have some recipes. Do you have like a cookbook, or is there like on the website? Is that the best way to figure out?
So the cookbook's coming.
Okay.
And the tough thing about a cookbook is there's only so many recipes in it.
Well, forget about a cookbook. I'd probably want to watch a video anyway.
Yeah, so more and more, and that's what Jay just alluded to, the HuntChef YouTube channel, we're just starting to, I've got a ton of content. It just needs cleaned up, edited, produced, and then posted. So
cool.
We're posting, typically we're shooting for 3 videos a week now.
Wow.
And creating those playlists and adding the shorts, from the small stuff we do for TikTok or.
I should do an app.
Well, that's not off the it's not off the table.
Yeah, dude, if I could go in and say like, here's my ingredients that I have, or here's like the main ingredient, and then I could see a list of recipes that you guys have made specific to wild game.
Yeah,
that'd be
I'm bringing a bunch of the seasonings to Dakota's for our meals.
Awesome.
Nice.
Do our open fire. Gotta kill something first.
And jet boil meat seasoning and butter is amazing. Just saying, like
Really?
we ate it so
Jet
much.
boil.
Well, if you're packing a jet boil out there, make sure you got a bag of HuntChef Wild Grounds coffee going with it too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got your own coffee line?
I do. Light, medium, dark
Take some of
roast. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Costa Rica, right?
So dark roast Costa Rican, medium Sumatran, and the light roast is from Ethiopia. All done small, 50 pounds at a time, local roaster, right up in the high pile.
Yeah.
And these kids do a phenomenal job. And
Great stuff.
They hit the flavor points that I wanted right on the nose. So
That's awesome, man.
I'm really excited about it.
It is cool. I mean, well, hopefully we kill something. I do have a pronghorn tag. Maybe we should be able to fill that in South Dakota. It seems like if we can get on a water hole, supposedly. But I mean, there is something kind of going back and wrapping this whole thing around is that primitive style of going out, doing the hunt, which isn't easy, harvesting something, processing it, and then taking it to that table finally is just, it's so rewarding.
That's where it's at.
Like, and again, no knock to people, because I know that there are people that just don't like it. Frankly, my mom grew up on deer meat because that's what my grandpa had to go out and shoot because they didn't have food.
Yep.
And she won't eat it now. But like anybody who will hunt and do stuff, like the fact that you're putting in all that, I feel like you're missing the best part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's just a hump to get it. I mean, like the reason that one of the reasons I like hunting so much is like because I've gotten good at it.
Yeah.
And the better I get at it, the more fun I have with it. It's just like cooking. I do enjoy it, and I certainly enjoy the benefits of it, but there's like this hurdle that I think if I can get over it, just like this confidence level to be like, oh, I actually enjoy this. I'm actually pretty good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would do it more.
Well, I can't disagree, and it's the same way, with doing it professionally. The more you do it, the better you get, the better job you get, the more money you make. I mean, and I don't care if it's, accounting or cooking. I mean, or hunting, to what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But the cooking piece, it takes a commitment. You know,
Yeah.
Or
if
the
you're
other one
gonna
for me is like lifting. Like the more I lift, the stronger I get. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is fun. I actually enjoy this. While it sucked initially, and it still sucks sometime. Yeah, same thing.
I think
Yeah.
it's time to, like, again, if you're busy and you don't have time,
Yeah.
becoming proficient at cooking is tough because it is
Unless you're passionate about it, because like I will stop what I'm doing to hunt and to do things involved in hunting. I don't want to at this point necessarily have to do that for cooking.
yeah.
you'll stop to eat because you like food.
Well, I hate doing even that sometimes, but yeah.
Like lifting's a choice, just like cooking, right? I mean,
Yes.
100%. That's it. You make time to lift.
It's these things that I'm passionate about. I make them a
That's
priority.
right. We all do the same things. And
Yeah.
I think that's where Chef's alluding, right, Chef?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I used to lift a ton. Hell, I was even a certified personal trainer once upon a
Oh,
time. Amateur bodybuilder, believe it or not. This is
I do believe it.
Body by IPA at this point. But,
That's all right.
and
I
really
love
good
it.
steaks.
Body by IPA.
That's
And
good.
really good steaks and
Yeah.
barbecue. But it's it, you know, and the conversations I get into sometimes now are, you know, there's all these buzzwords in around food and healthy living and being, you know, globally conscious and all this other shit. But meanwhile, you know, you pick up a package of chicken, I don't care what grocery store it's from, you know, it's still a commercial product. And as hunters and fishermen and trappers, I mean, we have the opportunity to go out, you know, to our own best grocery store there is and eat as healthier than anything that you're going to find in a grocery store. And, you know, the whole carbon footprint and all that crap and natural and sustainable and organic. And, I mean, hunters and fishermen have it all.
Yeah, we've been there.
We've been there. We live it.
I'm a firm believer that people follow their taste buds, like no matter what.
Dry aged
for
goose.
sure.
No matter what. Even if they
Listen,
know.
how about that dry aged goose?
Like
dude?
people have no idea. I want to
No
bring
idea.
that up on this podcast because I can't tell you in how many hunting camps I've been in across the country that people are like, man, them geese, they suck. Ain't nothing you can do with them. Make
Listen,
jerky out of them.
out of your mind.
We dry aged one for how long?
What kind of goose was it?
That's 2 weeks.
Canadian goose.
Canada.
Just Canada goose.
Shot it
Yeah.
off a lake up here up north.
Yeah.
How many days?
I think it was 14.
And it
And I
was
hung it outside.
melt in your mouth.
Oh,
hung it
right.
outside
Dude,
from
I've
the
had some
gazebo.
good geese.
Gutted.
Dude. That internship that I did in Alaska, we were posted up in Fort Yukon, and one of the locals like came down. It's like you have to get to this place by boat or airship. One of the locals came down, and he's like, oh, happy you guys are here. He's like, I'll bring you a goose. We're like, okay, cool. And he brought it down, and we cooked it like over the fire. He had it all wrapped in foil. He had killed it like the previous year. I don't know exactly what he put on
Yeah.
it, but it was amazing.
Awesome.
It was delicious.
Yeah, how
Compared to
about-
my college days where we basically threw it in Italian dressing and put it over rice because
Yeah.
that's like what we ate.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, guys are like, goose jerky, it's all you can eat. I can't tell you how much bad goose I've had
Oh, yeah.
compared
it's
to
like Sky Woodchuck.
God, what you-
more like
I'll make you some groundhog and make you slap your mama. I promise you.
Have you guys done Sandhill Crane yet?
No.
we talk about
I've
it.
heard
the
that's
filet mignon of the sky.
that's
is
what
on
I
my
hear.
list.
Yeah, we
I
talk
might
about it.
go to Texas in February just for that.
I mean, I heard it's like just unreal.
Yep, for sure. And I mean, how about the age that whitetail 62 days?
So, I think a
was-
good question for the podcast is, Chef, what was your favorite wild game piece so
Oh.
far on HuntChef, period? That you've
Out of
done?
all the lives?
out of all of everything that we've done in 4 years,
Best tasting?
No.
best tasting. What was the best tasting? What was the best dish if you had to narrow it down to one?
Jeez.
Because I'm putting it in my mind.
I don't even
now.
remember 3/4 of them.
Yeah. There's one that sticks out in my mind.
Well,
right
let's
away.
hear your favorite.
Oh, for sure. It was that beaver that you did in the red wine something.
Yeah,
The
the one in your
reduction?
kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was like making coq au vin with
Words
beaver.
I don't understand.
No, it's that's I think the direct French translation is cock in wine. But like a rooster.
But we put a beaver in.
But we put a beaver.
That was excellent timing, Mr.
Yes.
Flynn. Excellent.
Went the
timing.
complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything that other people
Before we even
enjoy
started
Yeah.
cooking, Jeremiah, get
are my
your cock out of the wine.
You know, I mean, the coyote, fish, birds,
Yeah.
venison, moose, elk. I mean, we've cooked antelope, boar, groundhogs, and just
It's
I don't
made
know.
it's made me a
Anytime
better
it
hunter
comes out
trapper.
good, that's my favorite.
I walked 16 days in a row for that beaver at very cold temperatures because I remember what the last beaver tastes like.
Yeah, Yeah.
I was like, we're going to get one of these beavers.
No doubt.
Well, I think that's, I mean, when you guys go into those HuntChef live formats, I mean, obviously it's species focused, but then you've also got some sort of mindset, probably due to what you're cooking, around what I guess the ethnicity would be that you're going with. Like, I know, like, you've done some awesome burgers, you've done Mexican.
Yeah.
Like, I think that side is where I'm intimidated because, again, I've got my go-tos I love and I'll continue to eat. I would love to branch out into some of that. I'm just not comfortable in that. Like, I look at some of these, and I say this because there may be a lot of people that start to look at those recipes and be like, man, like, there's no way in hell I can make that.
Well, but that's the thing, and you can't, always dedicate an hour every Tuesday, to watching, but I try and make it as approachable as I can. I mean, Jay does a lot of the prep work. Warren does prep work. I mean, and I try to make it as approachable as I can, I guess. And, ways that, I might not have an elk hunt this year. Anyhow. And, and bringing people who aren't trained chefs or 9-year-olds into the mix, trying to help break that thought process, I guess, as folks.
Yeah, that I don't have to be a sous chef to be able to prep all this stuff. And
exactly, and that so many of those dishes, you don't have to have beaver to make that dish. You can make that dish with venison. You can make it with groundhog. You can make it with wild boar, et cetera, et cetera. And just because we're cooking pheasant this way, you can also do your chicken from the grocery store, quail, grouse, and that's just trying to open people's minds.
I think that's where your seasonings help because, again, where my intimidation would be is like, and it's
how do
anything.
you flavor that?
Well, it's all the ingredients. Like I go and pull a recipe and I look at the list. I'm like, I don't
that's
have
what I
half
was going to say
stuff.
too.
And I'm not going to go buy it just for this.
Especially if that ingredient list is full of stuff that I wouldn't use for anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then I go and I spend a bunch of money and fill up my cabinet and I
Use
use
it
it for the
time.
one thing that maybe tasted great. But
Yeah. And that's, in almost all those recipes, I mean, I don't use any ingredients that you can't get anywhere.
I was going to say, a lot of fresh.
Almost everybody's got soy sauce in their cupboard. Almost everybody's got olive oil in their cupboard.
Yep.
Some salad oil, flour, sugar, and then you don't have to have a spice list, as long as you're armed to put
huge,
together.
I think.
Where you grab one of those, and then you can put as much or as little, as you want. And if you like it saltier, when you're done, add some salt to it.
And I think that they make a good point, Chef. You had a great response there because everything that we use on the live is so simple. Like anybody can do it.
Yeah,
anybody can do it. Really, it's that easy. And I remember one Sportsman episode you did, Ranchero something, but we had a ton of comments on that.
Yeah, the Huevos Rancheros.
Yeah, that was the Mexican one I was thinking.
Loved remaking those.
Yeah, and all you do is make some stuff that tastes really good and stack it up and put some sunny eggs on it.
Tortillas.
It's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
That sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys will have to come up for a live, huh, Chef?
I mean, come on. Let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think even the YouTube videos you're talking about putting up, if they aren't up already, would be super helpful for me. Like next time I'm getting ready to bust out a mule deer steak or whatever, I'm just going to go to your YouTube channel and see what I can find.
Well, that would be awesome. We're just starting to get more there. I mean, there's not, 100 videos there yet, but 3 a week, it won't take long.
Yeah,
we'll get
no, it
there.
won't.
And people don't know, but there are 140 videos on Mtn Top YouTube.
How about that?
That's a lot.
Holy cow.
Of his videos, HuntChefs?
Both.
Well,
Pretty much
Wow.
everything. So this year with Working Man Bowhunter on board, our goal from now to February is to put 50 episodes out, the climb, Mtn Top, everything.
Wow.
If we can accomplish 50 episodes every
That's huge.
fourth quarter.
It's just putting out content, man.
Yeah.
That's what people want. It doesn't have to be like super overproduced. It needs to look good. It needs to feel good. But as long as it's good content, people just watch it.
Yeah, and I don't have some, $3,000 custom smoker that you have to have. And how do you figure? I got a stovetop and an oven.
I think that's important, man. The more relatable it can be to what I'm looking at in my own kitchen, the more likely you're going to get people pulled into that stuff, And
that's the goal. I want it to be delicious. I want you to be able to look great and you eat it with your eyes, but, to be approachable enough where, maybe you got to watch it twice, but, you pull it off.
I'm probably asking too much. I should just get off my butt and do this. But, probably what would make it the easiest if I just said, here's what I make now. Here's the things I make. And you're like, oh, why don't you just use these to make this?
That honestly is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like somebody looking at, one accountant looking at your tax returns from last year and another one
Exactly.
did. They're like, okay, well, you need to do this.
See how you're
this,
putting
this.
teriyaki sauce on the salmon you're cooking?
Yeah.
Why don't you do that? And do you have some of this? Put that in there.
Did you sear it first or just dump sauce on it and put it in the oven?
And that's a whole nother
We should just start hanging out more.
Come on.
Yeah, like that's a whole nother avenue too for HuntChef, which is really cool. Is you just brought it up, but put it on your salmon. I mean, we haven't even done a lot of fishing stuff yet, right?
You guys have done some walleye.
Straight down the middle fishing though. There's so much more out there.
Oh,
trout.
that's the thing. And I if we can find a time, I want to produce I'm going to call it Hook to Fork with HuntChef. I'm going to produce a fishing show that's probably 20% fishing, and then the rest of it
Just cooking.
preparation. Yeah.
Cool.
So, and that's because my son Warren loves to fish and he loves to eat fish. So
Well,
that's kinda
fishing's
my-
better for kids anyhow because it's more entertaining most.
I mean,
and it can be,
Yeah.
and I've learned the hard way that
Less pressure.
trolling for on big water isn't very exciting for kids.
No.
that's why I crappie fish. My
Yeah.
kids and I.
Once a pone is
I'm
in,
a
and go.
You're fishing full.
I don't know how that's
So
fun
good.
for adults. My dad
love
goes
it, man.
walleye fishing like every other day. And I'm like, I go twice a season. I'm like, that's enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
people love it. It's its own
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
its own
what.
world.
That's my in between on the hunts, and it's just because the kids stay active, and I like eating crappie.
And I got
Yeah.
friends that fly fish all summer long, and they might catch 2 fish a week. They fish 3-4 days a week, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't
Hey,
think
maybe.
so.
Oh, you'd be proud of me. I caught a big perch the other day.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh.
a big one.
I would have ate
Nice.
that.
I threw it back. I was down at the farm. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, it was the only fish I caught that day. But
I would have ate that. Oh, that's
well,
good.
guys, thanks for having us here.
Yeah,
today.
man, we appreciate you
greatly
guys
appreciate
coming
it.
on, and we should do a HuntChef live soon.
Absolutely.
Maybe if we bring back mule deer or pronghorn.
I got
from
some in the
Dakotas.
freezer. It's been sitting there
100%.
since last year.
So I guess before we close out, best places for people to go, kind of some all in the same from a Mountaintop YouTube, but also you've got a HuntChef side of things, Facebook pages, Instagram pages for both Mountaintop and HuntChef,
Yep.
TikTok,
got YouTubes.
YouTube.
Lots of chef's been on TikTok, man. He's tearing up TikTok. Let me tell you, people get
Oh.
on the HuntChef TikTok. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, hopefully more and more coming there. And then huntchef.com, everything's there. All the seasonings, the ham kits, sausage kits, jerky kits, coffees, the experience hunts. If you want to put some money towards sending a veteran on one of my experience hunts this November in Kentucky, you can donate starting at $25 and up.
I think Jared and I will put some money in for a veteran this year
Awesome.
for that.
Awesome.
We'd love to help out with that. That'd be a really cool piece.
This is year one. I just got to get it funded and off the ground. Like I said, Bill and I are going to sponsor one. We've already.
What county is that in Kentucky? You know,
I don't remember.
is it Eastern?
It's east. Yeah,
So over towards
it's
me?
right on the Ohio River, right below Scioto County. Scioto. How do you say it?
Scioto?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in. So it's Lewis, Green Up. I'm trying to think what else.
No,
is up
I
there.
think it is Lewis. I saw
Lewis
the
County?
lease when he was looking at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's just north of where my property's at.
Nice.
About an hour and a half north. Yeah. No, we'd be happy to pitch in and try to help get one of these guys funded for that.
Yeah, and anybody else interested, you can private message me on the HuntChef page.
Yeah,
any
check us out
companies,
daily. I mean,
organizations.
we put stuff on there daily. We're always
Yeah.
at it. You can't take days off when you're doing this, right?
No.
Yeah. No, it's all about content and consistency and
Yeah.
frequency.
Yeah.
So I think if memory serves me correctly, this will be dropping the week we go to Dakotas.
Yeah, the week before.
The week before Dakotas. So yeah, if you're
2 weeks from now.
if you're listening to this, yep, it'll be week of the 23rd, I believe.
I'll have a dead gator.
You should have a dead gator.
That
We
is
will
right,
be
the 23rd.
we will be packing up for the Dakotas, and we're all off and running at that point.
Yeah,
We'll see you in Christmas.
On the other side. Yeah. See you on the other side,
on
bud.
the other side.
Yeah, so if you guys check out or you see me on the road, because obviously I'm on the road a lot, in a big wrap truck. It's this Mtn Top Outdoors.
Can't miss
HuntChef.
it.
I'll be pulling a camper around the country all fall. Come up and say hi. We enjoyed meeting some of the people that we met on the road last year. And, it's always good to hear different stories across the country of how people enjoy their harvest to how they like to hunt. That's what makes the hunting industry so special. To each their own, right?
Yeah, man. No, I think that's a
Amen.
really cool aspect of it. So, well, listen, boys, we appreciate you coming down this morning and talking with us, and we look forward to catching up here in the season and everybody having a safe and successful 2021 hunting season.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Good luck,
Yeah, man.
everybody. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good luck on your season.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Later.
Take me